with extensive knowledge to discuss religion, particularly the three major religions our people are following: Islam, Christianity, and Waqf. Three of them are quite experts in the field and practicing religious leaders as well. So I will quickly introduce all of them at the beginning, and then they will speak in the order they are listed. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Okay. All right. I'll introduce the speakers. The first, just sitting next to my left, is Pastor Wandimu Legese Sonesa. Is currently a PhD student at the Lutheran Seminary, majoring in systematic theology. He also serves as an assistant pastor in the Oromo Evangelical Church of Minnesota. Is born in the Lubabora region and has his early education there. He has attended Teachers Education Institute in Jimma, Teacher Training College in Jimma, from which he has earned a certificate. He has also graduated from the Mekane Jesus Seminary in Ethiopia with a bachelor's degree in theology. He had served the Ethiopian Evangelical Church in his place of birth. He was a Bible school teacher, executive secretary of the Synod from 2007 to 2009, and later he joined the Mekane Jesus Seminary area as well. So it's a long list of actually he has attended a Master of Arts in which I've already mentioned, and he is married with he has 3 children, two boys and a girl. So he's a very active member of the community as a church leader as well. Next is, let me get this information right. On the far side, of our left side, is Obo Lemmishuna. Yes, maybe I would do this in Afaan Oromoo because I have the text in Afaan Oromoo. Lemmishuna nama mana barnoota argaaf dhageettii gadaa Oromoo abbaa Liiban Dabbasaa Guyyoo wajjin hojjechaa ture. Isa birattis nama barateedha. Kanaafi waa'ee gadaa, waa'ee waaqeffannaa nama gadi fageessee nama baratee namas nama barsiisaas kan ture, ammas barsiisaa kan jirudha. Akkasumas immoo miseensa korii hojii gaggeessituu gumii waaqeffannaa addunyaa keessa jira. Walumaa galatti guddina aadaa seenaa ufuuf kan waaqeffannaa kan bilisummaa Oromoo nama barsiisuudha. Akkasuma innis karaa isaa karaa waaqeffannaa spiritual leaderii amantootaati. Sadaffaan kan gidduu taa'anii jiranii kun immoo afaan Ingiliziitiin nootiin ani qabu Usmaanin isinii barreessa. Ustaaz Naazir Hamzaati, who has completed his Bachelor of Arts in Sociology from University of Minnesota. He has also achieved the highest certificate in Quranic studies, and he has the Ijaz from internationally leading Muslim scholars in North America, so well known in the field. Currently, he is a director or the principal of the Tawfiq Academy and is a frequent Quranic Hadith presenter for Oromia Islamic TV. Imam Nasir joined the Tawfiq Islamic Center in 2004 as a weekend school instructor. He is now the assistant imam of the Islamic Center. Imam Nasir is born in Derdoa, and as I've already mentioned, has an extensive knowledge in the Islamic field of Islamic religion, Islamic studies. So we have three great religious leaders who will share their knowledge, their ideas with us today. I'll call upon first Pastor Wendy Musones. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Indandis, Fred, Indandis. Okay. Pointy rang up. Yeah. Some other way. As in, say, I can only teach you in this.
No, I can use this one. Because please just use this.
All right.
And then I will use this one. Okay, it's
Oh, the
okay.
PowerPoint.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
okay.
All right. Okay. Good. Your patience. Good. Good.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
This one.
Yeah. Okay.
This one? I can't see. I find it difficult.
English one.
This one?
Oh, no, top.
Yes.
And then on top of that. Yeah. Click on that. Yeah.
Yeah. This one then is?
It's good.
Is it? I don't know sizes.
Actually, good.
Okay.
But-
So that they can read.
Actually, good.
Okay.
For each. 20 minutes.
Okay. Okay. Akkam jirtu? Baga jiraattanii. My presentation is in English, so I have to turn around and look at it because I can't see clearly from here because of the size of the format of the. Namni guddisu immoo jira naannaa guddisuu danda'u. My topic is reconsidering the public role of religion in Ethiopia or Oromia on the public cry for churches' proximity of presence in the midst of human rights violation and social injustice. So this topic has been addressed from different perspectives, but I am dealing with it as a theologian from the religious point of view. Karaa amantiitiin akkamitti ilaalama ga'een amantii ga'een amantootaa gara lafa hawaasa gidduutti kan jedhu irratti dubbadha jechuudha. Waan inni dhiyeessu it's not really everything that should be covered, but very specific, focusing on the imperial rule, which is I will analyze I will make comparative analysis of ethnic supremacy from comparing the Ethiopian imperial rules with the Western point of view or the practices in the West. So in doing this, you know that in Ethiopia or Oromia there is a ethno-religious hegemony which survived different rules, and even the rules were antagonistic, and for example from 1889 to present, we've seen about two emperors and the military regime, and then the present or EPRDF. But there are two antagonistic ideologies within those different political situations. There was ethnocentric approach, and that revived or survived every change that took place. So mootummootatu jijjiiramaa ture malee waa'een eenyummaa kuni waa'een sanyummaa irratti xiyyeeffatanii biyya keessatti hojii hojjechuu kuni akkuma jirutti itti fufee ture jechuudha. What I am doing is I will analyze the transitions from 1974 to when I see this transition, there was imperial rule, Derg regime, and EPRDF. So the imperial rule was hierarchical and patriarchal, and the Derg regime was socialist, and then now ethnic federalism, which claims liberal or democratic. Either national unity or equal citizen was emphasized in the three rules. So the fabrics of ethno-religious hegemony could survive all political and ideological changes. So we'll see first ethnic supremacy in Ethiopia, comparable with racism in imperial West. Church identified with the strong and the powerful. When I speak about the church, you know that when I speak about the church in imperial rule, you know which church I am referring to, because the evangelical churches were not strong and even were not allowed to be called church, Ethiopian church, during those rules. And I'm specifically referring to the practice of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, to which the emperor was head, which for example, Emperor Haile Selassie was the head of the church and the head of the state at the same time. So I'm referring to this church. I'm not singling it out, but just when I refer to the church, I will make specific when I speak about evangelical churches. So then reconsidering public role of Christianity in Ethiopia, then conclusion. The first is ethnic supremacy comparable to racism in the imperial West. So now, when we talk about the Western situation, there was justification for racial supremacy and slavery in the imperial West. These are the points I have listed. Someone said racial supremacy escalated to the difference between white races. It involved denial of some white races, because the point they mentioned when they deny equality of even white races, they were saying some of them were not fit to govern themselves. Like exactly the same thing was being said in Ethiopia even today. So fitness for self-governance was the evidence they mentioned. Higher status quo of the white against the African Americans. Anglo-Saxons claim to be superior race. Josiah Anat argues for polygenesis. I want to say something about this polygenesis. This term is, it refers to claiming different creation stories. Black and white were not created from the same origin, or all human beings have different hierarchical origins. So this was what led to what they reason for they present as justification for racism. The same is true in Ethiopia. Ethnocentrism has also this, some of bishaan keessaa bahanii Oromoonni jedhanii dhiyeessaa turan miti, biyyayyuu hin qabnu miti, biyya qabnu waanuma akkasiiti jechuudha. It's like myth and fabrication. The another important thing is, so God has set different orders and degree of humans. So racism or ethnocentrism is, or slavery, when slaves claim liberty, so the God created, the God-given order is violated. So there should not be freedom for slaves. So the same is true for our people in Ethiopia. So the rule of Menelik is what I see now, and in justification of ethnic supremacy, Ethiopianism versus experience of the Oromo of Finfinne. You know this, what happened to the Tulama when the today capital Addis Ababa was established. So the dismantling of their culture, the people, and also denying. Now today we are trying to restore it by saying it is ours, but it were ours, and when no one was saying it was theirs. So Haile Selassie, King Haile Selassie of Shawa fought against Oromo to expand his kingdom, and this was neglected by Ethiopian historians. It is not reported, it is not used, it is not taught at school. Why? Because they cannot remain faithful to research ethics. If they narrate it, they have to say what happened to Oromo is invasion and eviction. So they don't want to include this, and so they don't report or they don't tell about it. So there are, but others speak about it. Ronald Harvos in 1969, he said, during 1880s, the tide of war turned into favor of the Amara, who extended hegemony over the Oromo. Kaufeler is an Iranian who made his doctoral research in Addis Ababa University. Maybe some of you may know him who were there. So he said, Abyssinian tradition holds that conquered lands becomes state property at the disposal of the emperor. In the Kebra it is stated that people in conquered areas who comply with the imperial rule should become subject and pay tribute. But in case they offer resistance, go forward to assault and oppress them, since the Lord your God will make you master of them. This was the emperor, in the name of God, orders that his soldiers, his generals, should assault other ethnic group, especially the Oromo people. And Dr. Nagaso Gidada reports what Europeans have seen. The luckless inhabitants, taken quite by surprise, had barely time to abandon their property and fly for their lives to the fastness of Intotom, which it is protecting from the distance. So, akka itti Finfinneen ijaaramtee haasa'uuni barbaachisaa. Maaliifin kana haasaa kan namoonni baay'een dhiyeessitaniitu, namoonni na caalaa kana qorattanis jirtu. This should be spoken about from religious standpoint. It should be theological. It needs theological reflection because it's about humanity. It's not just simply politics, and then waa'een politikaa gaafa ka'u namoota waldaa keessa jirruuf, namoota amantaa keessa jirruuf gara politikaatti seenuu waan nama xureessu nutti fakkaata gatii ta'ee fi waa'ee kanaan haasofnu taanaan namoonni keenya karaa waa'ee ofii isaanii haasa'an hin qaban. Waa'ee ofii keenya haasa'uun amantii keenya wajjin wal simsiisamee ta'uu qaba kan jedhudha. Then the intention was to use the Holy Scriptures. It can be Bible, it can be Quran, the texts, and then put them in the mouth of the emperor, and then the emperor can tell us what it means, and so the people do not have confidence to interpret it during the imperial eras. So, but the imperial rule uses it to intimidate the people. So God has given him power to assault. And then we imitated that, and we report that when we talk about ourselves, when we talk about our land. And then there was, some people say, is there a time when Oromo had independent government or self-governance? I heard this from Oromo, and for the first time I was surprised. Yes, there was time when Oromo was governing and leading themselves by using their Gada system. We have to go back to the 16th century, and then we will see how Oromo. Then the system promoted the Ethiopian version of slave master relationship. That's why I'm comparing the Western and also our own. These are two important people. Whenever we speak about racism and ethnicity, they are honored and appreciated for what they have done for their supporters. And for those who follow them, then Stonewall Jackson is a Confederate hero, and Menelik is a unification hero. So the modernizing agent. So those who follow, those who support these guys, these leaders, by the way, Stonewall Jackson is a general. He just lived from 1824 to 1863, but he led the Civil War in America only for 3 years. But he fought many wars, which he successfully achieved the desired goal. And remembered, and you find for his memorial erected everywhere. Of course, for where people follow, those who follow him have his memorial. So I compared them in Civil War in America and Civil War in Ethiopia. Of course, this is territorial expansion, Confederacy, unification. We have a Confederate hero, we have a modernizing hero, and then maintenance of the flourishing of the God-fearing Southerners and protection of their civilization by destroying the weak Northerners. These are the same people trying to destroy each other. And then here, the Amhara or the imperial rulers are authorized to destroy this, the Zega nations, the Southerners or the Zega nations. You know what Zega means? It was not citizen as of today, as we know the meaning. It was. It shows it has the connotation of subjugation, the dependent, the subjugated, the suppressed. So we were those people. That's why we say Dinne. Menelik's days has been interpreted as in connection with the heroic endeavor to create Ethiopia, in which Amhara ostensibly deserved the lion's share, and you can read that one. But there we find racism, here we have ethnocentrism. That's why I compare. And commitment to these two heroes has to do with a lost cause. If you see the same, you see that was for Stonewall Jackson, and this is for Menelik. Yoo kana laaltanii fardi isaanii akka jettee jirti. So as long as miilli fardatti akka sol kayamma jirutti, there is a lost cause, and then, well, the lost cause is literally what is circulating in the mind of people who support them, and we have the lost cause in Addis Ababa while we are struggling for our own lost cause. And we have lost cause, but there are also the Menelik supporters have also their own lost cause, and whenever we talk about them, it's not good to take as simple. So now I will not repeat what others have said about Emperor Haile Selassie, who worked actually to modernize Ethiopia, even though I have 5 minutes. Okay, thank you. even though Menelik was called modernizing agent, the emperor who worked towards modernizing Ethiopia and implementing Menelik's system, his plan was Haile Selassie. The second one is church identified with the strong and the powerful. So someone, Walter Altman, this is a Latin American theologian, liberation theologian, who said there are 4 variants of dialectical church-state relationship. He suggested that what the relationship between church and the state should be. Both church and the state may become protagonists of oppressive system, or one of them may maintain fundamental identity as an agent of communion and liberation, where when the state becomes an instrument of domination, the church may resist. And lastly, when the church may make its priority commitment to its own institutional preservation, the state may stand for people. Well, I would like to say probably for us, the first variant is the most appropriate description, which is this one. Both church and the state may become protagonists of oppressive. And then let me go to the experience of Oromo and Finfinne, and you know that there are three things I want to mention. This happened in India. When they were colonized, three terms: Pakakuti, Encomendas, and Bildang. The first one, Pakakuti, was the world turned upside down. When the Spanish colony came to India, their plan was to turn their world upside down or turn around. So they said they used the term Pakakuti. And then next, after getting established, turning their world upside down, what they did was replacing or displacing the new world with the old world. So the Indian world was displaced and replaced by the Spanish world. So that we have equivalent terms, Balabat and Chisanya, in our context. And then Bildang was now, after doing this, what should be done is reconfiguration. Addis Ababa is reconfigured. Finfinne was reconfigured and called Addis Ababa. And there are many names. Someone Santo called Listino Godaturani Warasila Kesa. Names, everything, ideology, phase, culture should be replaced. That was what happened to us. So resistance is considered as disobedience. And third, reconsidering the public role of Christianity in Ethiopia. Let me go through this quickly. Religion may not have political theory. Public theology arises from the fact that God created everything. We don't need to have political theory to be in public and to be among our people, because God created everything that will take us to public among our society. Thus, the religious person is responsible to call a spade with a single-mindedness, without compromising. And reformation in the pattern of church-state relations is needed. Why? Because a reform in the role of the church in public is mandatory. For our people to be successful, the church people, I don't speak for our brothers, all religious groups should speak up for their people. And let me skip and go to the conclusion. So the church should be present and speak on behalf of the oppressed, the suppressed. The church shouldn't imitate the emperor, shouldn't copy what the emperor says or what the political leaders say. The church should be a strong, critical, self-critical, and also critical towards the government. And in conclusion, Holy Scriptures are not too old to be used by politicians and oppressors worldwide. So during this transition time for Oromo, our scriptures should not be used in the way it was used by others. Religious people are responsible to interpret their scriptures in a way that protects humanity and promotes human flourishing. Respond to teaching and sermons promoting racial, ethnic, or religious discrimination. Don't keep silent. Beyond prayers for peace, justice, and equality, religions need to expand their horizon of involvement in society. The last, since religion was part of the problem, religious response is required to challenge human rights violation and injustice in Oromia. Religion, so the first thing is we have to accept that the religion was part of the problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just on time. Thank you, Pastor. Okay, our next speaker is Obo Lami Shuna on the relationship between Gada and Wakefana.
Aye, attam jirtu warri isin argine baga jiraattanii nagaa argadha. Gadaa ta'anii gaaddisa ta'anii dhaggeeffatanii dhaabatanii lallabaniidhan kana dhaggeeffattan abdiin qaba. Haa ta'u garuu waan duraa waaqa aadaa keenyas amantii keenyas falmee asiin ga'ee amantii namaa fi namatti qixxeesseef galanni haa ga'u. Kanaaf galanni Waaqaaf haa ta'u. Ittaan sun ani nama argaa dhageettii gadaa Oromoo amma tokko hordofedha. Lammii Shunaan jedhama. Oromiyaa dhiyaatiin dhaladhe. Hana waa'ee gadaa kan hordofe immoo isin dhiba Oromiyaa kibbaatti Booranatti. Waan kana keessatti anan isin yaadachiisin hanin darbuun barbaanne hundi keessan hayyuu qaroo otoo yuunivarsiitiin deemin otoo isan deemin hayyuu qaroo Waaqni qaree uume aadaaf seenaa Oromoof lubbuu isaa dabarsee eenyummaa isaa dabarsee kennaa han ture Abbaa Liiban Dabbasaa Guyyoo hundi keessan naa yaadadha. Jaarsa guddaa waan Oromoo qabeenya Oromoo aadaa Oromoo amantii Oromoo seenaa Oromoo otoo lallabuu buutamee achi buuteen isaa dhabamee hafedha. Ani ambarataa hayyuu kanaati ambarataa beekaa kanaati. Kanaaf haninni kaleessa jedhe keessaa hamma tokko dabarsuu barbaadaa. Gadaan gadaa Waaqaati jedhani. Gadaa Waaqaa jaa ta'eef gadaan sirna guutuuf ititaadha jedha Oromoon. Sirna guutuuf ititaan gadaa taasise uumamni gadaa keessa jiraatee gadaa jalatti jiraatu hundi nagaa qabaa. Nagaa jireenyaa, nagaa bultii, nagaa oolmaa bultii, nagaa horatee galuu, nagaa jiraatee ka'uu, nagaa dubbatee bahuu, nagaa kana hundumaa tiksee nagaatti dabalee nagaa wajjin jiraate gadaan. Gadaan nagaa kana keessa jiraachisu amanteef haa ta'u, jireenyaaf haa ta'u, waan fedheef haa ta'u, ijoo waan ta'e waan shan han dhalate guddifata gadaan. Waan shan kana keessa tokkoon ishee hoo miliqxe yoo tokkoon ishee wal dhabde tariin dogoggoratu uumama jedhee amana gadaan. Shanan kun hokkoo shanan jedhan waan walitti ejjetan waan walirraa hin cinne waan wal tiksan waan wal eegan waan wal deggeranidha jechaadha. Shanan kana keessaa tokko hafnaan dogoggorri iddoo tokkotti malaa jedha gadaan. Shanan hokkoo kun maal jennaan namni dhalatee afaan barata. Afaan barsiisa afaan namni ittiin walii galaa ittiin waliin jiraata. Ittiin guddifata. Ittiin lafaa barsiisa. Ittiin nama barsiisa. Inni itti aanu maali? Aadaaf seenaadha. Lammaffaan aadaaf seera dhiifama. Aadaaf seera. Aadaan hin dubbata. Seerri ni qaba. Aadaan hin dubbata. Seerri murteessa. Kanaaf aadaan hangaaddi isaa ummutoo seerri han murtii ta'e wal gargaaranii waliin bushoo jechaadha aadaaf seerri. Inni sadaffaan amanteedha. Namni dhala namaa ta'ee dhalate uumamni hundi abbaa uumaatiin uumame hundu waa'ee Waaqaa, Waaqa isa uume, Waaqa isa lafa kanatti isa fide, Waaqa lafaaf samii kana uume baruut irra jira waa'een Waaqaa waa'een amantiis hin barsiifamaa jechaadha. Arfaffaan seenaadha. Namuu seenaa ittiin dhalate qaba. Namuu bakka ka'ee bakka ga'u qaba. Bakka kaleessa iddoo dhufe eenyurraa akka dhufe. Kun ijoollee ilmaan horooti. Horoorraa dhalanne, horoorraa uumamnee dhufnee namoota baay'ee keessa dabarree dhufnee addana har'a geenyeera. Han kana beeku bu'a bayii kana keessa darbame hin beekee himu han dabarsu seenaadha. Seenaa barsiisuu jechaadha. Arfan kanaa olitti tuqaman kana keessa jiraachuuf afaan, aadaaf seera, amantee, seenaa kana hundatti dhimma baanee hojiirra oolchuuf immoo mirga barsiisa. Mirgi kee maali afaan dubbachuuf, mirgi kee maali seenaa dubbachuuf, mirgi kee maali waaqeffachuuf, mirgi kee maali isa jedhuuf mirga kennaa jechaadha. Kanaaf akkuma afaan ittiin dubbate akkuma aadaa fi seerri wal tiksan akkuma seenaan tikse mirgi uumaaf uumama han amantee haa ta'u han jireenyaa haa ta'u han maal haa ta'u shanan kana keessaa hoogufate tokko hoogufate tokkoonsaa hoogufate han halagaatti si harkisaadha suma silaa obbolaan koo addanaa dubbataa oolan natti fakkaata uf ta'u ati afaan oromoo hin beektu taanaan afaanuma ingiliffaa beekta taanaan afaan ingiliziif akka warra ingilizii kanatti oromoo ibsuu barbaadda malee afaan oromootiin hin beektu kaaree afaan oromootiin akkamitti itti himta hankee tokko si jalaa badeeraa jechaadha dhiifama naa godhaa kunuun ilaallatu uni warra beekaa kana barsiisuu nu gamee beekaatti himuun barbaadu ani warra beeku kanatti hin barbaadu dhiise obbolii abbaa dabbasa nurra akkasiin adaraa keessan isaanumti warri beekan nu barsiisan jedheen obbolii abbaa liban hojii wal lola ture yeroo baay'ee gorba arra daallee hansaa wallaalee han ormaa barateen beekaan jedhanii jedhe bar dirqama jechaadha nufi barachuun jechuu barbaade to abbaan liban daallee hansaa wallaalee han halagaa barateen beekaadhan jedhanii kanaaf hundi nama kana baree kana jalatti uumamee waaqa isaallee kana jalatti bulaa jechaadha waan mirga dhala namaa ilaaluun waan mirga uumamaa ilaaluun waan mirga qabeenyaa ilaaluun aadaa jalatti gadaa jalatti gadaan waa hedduutu jira jechaadha mirga dhala namaa ilaaluuf seera boojuutu jira ati amaara ta'e ati faranjii ta'e ati abbaa feete ta'e abba tigiree ta'e dhala namaati dhala namaa erga taate gadaan mirga boojuu lolarratti atoo tokkosuu wal qabee atoo ajjeesuu wal qabee mirga boojuu sana eega akkatti mirga dhala namaa eegu warra isaanillaa dhalateef immoo mirga guddifachaa kennee guddisa ofitti qabee warra guddifateef immoo maqaatti moggaasee gosa kennee fi gogeessa sana keessatti intala dubraa fuusisee yoo dhiira ta'e intala durbaa fuusisee yoo durba taate immoo intala dhiiraa kennee gogeessa isaatti magee mirga dhala namaa akkasitti eegachaadha gadaa keessatti mirga amantiillee kanaan eega amantiin wauma lama hayyee lafti keessan bal'aadha sa'aatiin keessan immoo dhiphoodha rakkoodha ammoo haa ta'ugaa mirgi amantii hummu jedhamu amantii wauma lama jaran jedhu warra gadaan borsan amantii abbaan uumaa ganama sii kenneef amantii irree yookaan sossobbaadhaan sitti kennanidha kanan darbuu jedhan maalinnaan sillee abarsiifatu horiillee sii kenne amantii koo hordofisiifaa jedhu maalillee siifaa jedhu kaleessa waaqayyoon horotti haninnaan laanne ilmaan oromoo horoon dhiisanii hin amantii waaqeffataa amantii oromoo ganamaa hundaati han hunda keenya maaliif saba sanarraa dhalanne isinirraan dhalanne jennee yoo kaanne malee amanteen keessan nun ilaallatu jechuun hin danda'amu ammoo akka waaqeffataatti hin dhufnu amanteen sabni keenya fudhate amanteen naataa jedhe ittiin jiraate amanteen sabni keenya jiruuf jireenya isaa ittiin geeffatee waaqa isaa kadhatee ittiin dhageessifatee ittiin jiraate waaqeffataan kabaja qabaaf ulfina guddaa qabaaf hansaallee akka kabajamu hansaallee akka hin banne hin dabarfata hin dhageessifata hansaallee akka dhaga'amu akkuma yaadattan dhiyootti ummata 700-800 oli ga'utti nama waaqa isaa gaaf tokkoof waaqayyo galanni har'a siif haa ga'u jedhee gaheetu wal duukaa boolla tokkotti dhume kanaaf dhiibbaan amantoota hundumarraa haa jiraatu hawwaaqeffata immoo isa owwaasha keessaa ka'ee galaa jirutullee biyyootti deebisaa jiru jechaadha kana malee amanteen nutti dhufe amanteen nu cinaa dhufe amanteen nu wajjin jiraatu obboleessa keenya obboleettii keenya ta'e wal duukaa nu gargaare saba rakkate gargaarne maal ta'e isaaniif ta'eera taanaan saba keenyaaf ta'eera taanaan waaqeffataan dhimma sana mormuuf hin qabu haa ta'uti garuu hansaallee akka kabajamuuf akka ulfina godhatu hin barbaadaa jechaadha kanaaf amanteen waaqa kana abbaa uumaati waaqa kana yeroo baay'ee namni kadhateera yeroo baay'ee namni duukaa hin bu'aa waaqni kadha hin dhageessifata amantiin waa hundaa ol waaqa xaanee hin jirudha amantiin maali amantiin asaasa waaqaati amantiin asaasa waaqaati hayyuu kanatti luba kanatti raagduu kanatti ayyaantuu kanatti qaalluu kanatti hankaraarra buuse han afaan dibe han ittime waaqadha malee ofiisaa lafarraa fudhateen kaane warri waa'ee waaqaa lallabus warri waa'ee waaqaa himus warri dhaggeeffatan warra asaasa waaqaa dhaga'anidha isaan kana keessaa oromoo bira hedduutu jiru maalfaatu jira? Ayyaantu jira, qaalluu jira, raagduu jira, reeddimeessatu jira, imuu gurraattiitu jira, eker dubbiftuutu jira, jaarsaaf jaarse buleeyyi jira. Warra waaqa jalatti bulee guddatee lubbuu dheeratee yaa waaqayyo sirraa kaleessa lubbuu dheerina argadheera har'a sirraa ormaaf kadhadhee ormaaf lubbuu dheerina akkaan hin kadhanne hin nagootaan hangootu jedha jaarsi waggaa 190 hin dhageessifataa jechaadha. Namoonni kun isa sila jenne shanan ijoo dubbii keenya keessaa han ilaallatu keessatti amante oddoo jedhamu kana jalatti ramadamu jechaadha. Ayyaantuun, qaalluun, raagduun, reeddimees, imuu gurraatti warra jedhamu kun. Qaalluun kun waan waaqa barsiisa malee waaqa miti. Ayyaana ittiin dhalate ofiisaa yoo qaba hundumtuu ayyaana 27 keessatti dhalate ayyaana 27 keessaa han qaalluu walladha. Walli ayyaana qaannuuti ayyaana ofiisaa dhalate namadhanis. Ammoo dambooba waaqaa qabaayu waa'ee waaqaa hin barsiisa, hin utaalu, hin sirbu, hin arrabsu, hin abaaru, hin eebbisa, hin gaggeessa malee. Gadaan kun qaalluu malee, qadaan kun qaalluu malee hin godaanu. Gadaan kun ayyaantu malee, qaalluu malee, baalli wal jijjiiruun hin danda'amu. Eebbisatu malee, maqaa waaqaa dhaamu malee wanti mijuu ta'u, wanti guutu hin jiru. Gadaan illee waaqeffataan illee akkatti amanaa jechaadha. Kanaaf warri reeddimeessaa jedhaman warra kennii lafa kanaa qabu namni lafarra dhaabatee waaqa asii ol kadhataa bara. Warri lafti kun akka hin urgufamne, lafti kun akka nama hin fudhanne, lafni kun akka namaan hin cinne, lafni kun akka nama hin nyaanne. Warri diriirfatanii yaa waaqa nana yaa lafa nana waaqni tasgabbisiifaa kennu dhala namaa uumtee sirra jiraatu kana hin fixiin jedhanii warri lafaaf galata kennan illee ayyaantoodha dhaga. Nu baattee jirti moo attam lafti kun. Kanaaf ulfina hin qabdu hadaraa waaqaa lafaa siin jedham namni iyyuu. Hadaraa muusii kennan iyyuu. Dachee niitii waaqaa jedhani. Attam ooltee bulte mu Zalaalem Abarraa jedhu nageenye dacheen mu faarsu Zalaalemtu faarsi miti warra biyyaarraa warri jaarsi durii asmaariin jedhu faarsu fideet isinitti hime malee isa jedhe miti dachee niitii waaqaan jedhe. Kanaaf namni hadaraa waaqaa lafaa muusiin jedhu waaqatti hin himata. Lafa kanarra moo irra jirta hadaraa ulfina lafa kanaallee natti hin darbiin jechuusaati jechaadha. Warri kun warra asaasa waaqaa dhagaan warri eker dubbiftu warri du'e warra haasofsiisa warri du'etti warra dubbachuuf dandeettii qabanidha. Akkatti isaan dubbata ana eker dubbiftuu miti warra eker dubbistuu dhaxxanii gaafatan immoo isinitti modheetanii dhabdadha. Kanaaf warri kun waa caasaa kana jala caasaa waaqaa kana jala jiru. Kanaaf warri kun akkamitti waan waaqaa sagalee waaqaa kennii waaqaa dabarsii waaqaa kan akkamitti argatan hoo jennee ilaallu. Amantiin maal qaba? Laguu qaba, safuu qaba, seeda qaba, saalaa fakkoo qaba. Kana barsiisaa jechaadha iddoo silaatti. Laguun kun hundi maali? Tariin laguu ishee jettuuf safuu ishee jettu kanatu Oromoo keessa marmaara. Manni saalaa fakkoo jedhamu kun isa Oromoo nyaara haaddattee jedhudha bara. Akka ilmi kee dhaalli kee akkas hin taane barsiisu jechuudha. Saalaa fakkoo jechuun nyaara haaddattee jechuudha. Yoo haadamellee bareedaa akka warri bareechawatus jiru ammoo isa jechuusaa miti. Waan hamaatu teelaa waan arrabaaf ulfina ta'eet waan arrabaaf laguu ta'eetu immoo duukaa jira saalaa fakkoo kana duukaa. Akka saalaan fakkoo kana ijoolleen ittiin koon akka ittiin barre akka ittiin to'anne kana barsiisuu jechaadha. Kanaaf seeda jechuun obboleessa safuuti. Waan agartuudhaan namni guddaan abbaan arguu hin barbaanne daa'imni lamaan ijoollee sokkee xixiqqoon gochuu hin qabne musheen gottu ijji kee ilaaluun barbaadu siif seedadha akka nama irraan agarree darbuu qabda. Abaarsa hamaa mu dubbatan gurra keetti mu dhaga'amu. Oromoof gadaaf abaarsi aadaa miti. Kun warra gurra bitaachaa hin dhageenye jedhani warra imuu gurraatti jedhani isuma ati abaartee quban qabnu. Rejected balleessan si jalaa malee hin fudhannu jechuudha. Jarri kun eessadha ani kaataagoriin isaanii egaa warra amantii kana jaladha. Areeroo boosoroofaa warra jedhamu warra raagduu har'a dhufe. Waan har'a Oromoon ta'aa jiru waan har'a biyyisaa ta'aa jiru warra asaasa waaqaa dhaggeeffatanii himan. hin cittaan ciccittu hin baddan babbaddaan farsoo dhagee badiin biddeena nyaate baduu ga'ee wal wallaalee wal jalaa didee jedhe bara baduusa otoo beekuun dhaggeeffanne kana jedhe babbaddaan farsoo dhugee badiin biddeena nyaata baduu beekee wallaalee wal wallaalaa siin jedhe baduusa otoo beekuun wal jalaa calaa jiru wal hiree wal doomse kun akkanatti jechaadha kanaaf hariiroo boosorofaa ayyoo miidhagduu yookaan haadha weeceefaan jedhamtu raagduun kunoo maroo uchumaafaa warra jedhaman raaga oromoo keessatti raaganii himanii qajeelchanii warra darbanidha. Kanaachi waaqa keenya akkanatti beekna waaqeffataan hordofaa amantee waaqa ganama ittiin uumame gaafa horoon ilmaan oromoo waaqayyo uume hororraa uumanii jalqabanii han waaqa gorse han hordofuudha han uume han hordofuudha hundi maatiin oromoo immoo gaafas gaafa oromoo walii yaa'u gaafa oromoo waliin bulu gaafa oromoo waliin deemu gaafa oromoo walii gale gaafa oromoon hafuura tokkoof afaan tokkoon kadhate waaqa dhageessifate waaqarraa argate waaqa eebba fudhate waaqni gaafas bushe waaqni gaafas milkeesse waaqni gaafas karaarra buuse kana hundaaf ati godhume fakkaata kana hundaaf oromoon seera itti qaba seera maal qaba seera yaayyaashanii qaba isa yeroo gara biraatti dabarfanna ammaaf gaafa oromoo waliin yaa'ee waliin qixaa'ee waliin deemaa ture sana waaqni dhiyoo ture sana kadhatee dhageessifatee ammoo haa ta'u oromoonis qaroomeedhee gaafa waaqatti darbee daangaa waaqaa ce'uutti daangaa waaqaatti darbuu qabu waaqni illee irraa fagaataa deemee jedhani kun kolfa keessas qosaa keessas himamu jira maaltu jedhama bokkaan roobee to gaangeen dheedaa jirtu ilmaan gaangee roobni jalaa obbaaseedhani amma yoo reebaa jirti bokkaan amma yoo roobaa jira googin roobiin ennaan atis googin dhaliin dheedhee fagaatee deemeedhani waaqni siluma dallansuu qaba namarraa deemuuf malee isheef jedhee dhimma biyyaa lafaarraa deemuuf hin qabu waan akkasiifaa immoo afoola keessatti immoo qoosaa keessatti immoo hin himamaa jechaadha kun dhugaa miti tariin gaafas maaliif akka dubbatan garuu bira ga'amuun hin danda'amu waan dubbataniif qabu jechaadha kanaaf burqaan amantee keenya hunduu gadaa keessaa burqaa gadaaf amanteen akkasitti wal qaba gadaan har'allee waaqeffataan amantoota warra kaniif kabajaaf ulfina guddaa qaba isa kaan immoo warra kana hundumaaf hokkoo shanan amma jedhe kana bu'uura kanan irraanfatina isaan kanaaf immoo yaayyaa shaniin iggitii godhe seera yaayyaa shaniitu jira seera sanaaf immoo yeroo gara biraa musaatii argan wal barsiifna fayyaa ta'a.
Galatoom hedduu. Our next speaker is Imam Nasir Hamza.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله ومن والاه وبعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته duraan dursee eegaa maqaa rabbiitiin jalqabe booda nagaa fi rahmanni nabi Muhammad irratti eegaa qara'ame booda itti aansuudhaan obboleeyyan kiyyaa kan amantaadhaan amantii islaamaan hordofne hunda keessanuu nagaa fi salaamtaan isin bira haa jiraattu isin bira haa geessu isin jechaadha. Akkasumatti akkuma kullaniin jettetti haga dandeessutti afaan oromiffaa fi ingiliffaatiin wal keessa godhuu yaalii godhiyete. And at the same time isillee komirraa qabna sagantaa sila ummanni gurguddoon hayyoonni gurguddoon akkanatti yeroo dheeraa riisarchii guddaan godhamee qophaa'amee dhufu kana ani torbaan sadii moo haga sumaansaa haga wanni jenne hedduudhaan biiziin ture akka nama biratti isin kanneen namoonni biraatis gara biyya gara Itoophiyaatti godaanaa waan jiraniif imaamotaan keenya gurguddoon saniifuu harka isiitis darbuun jaalanne akka nama tokkotti kabajaa guddaa fi ulfinaatu na dhaggeeffama. Sagantaa amata 30 umrii tiyya guutuu as deemaa turte yeroon dhagahu seenaa isaanii kalee bara 1986tti jalqabee jechuun dhagahe. Ani baruma sanii dhaladheelleedha. So waggaan kuni anaaf anniversary keessaniifis anaafis takka'u. So saniifuu galatoomaa ulfaadhaa isii waliin biqilee argamu kiyyaaf kullanni akkana tokkotti galata guddaa akka masjida Tawfiq Islamic Center irraa galata guddaa si deebisuu barbaadna. Akkasumatti ummata waan kana qindeessee bu'uureessee hundaahu boordiin hundi keessanuu galatoomaa. So I want to begin my greetings. Namni Ingiliffaa namu sadii qofami. So I just began my greetings with Islamic greetings, which is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is saying, may the peace and blessings and the mercy of God upon you, upon all of you. So I was given a topic to speak about social justice in Islam and democracy. We may leave democracy in Islam for next session, maybe if I had a chance to speak next time. Within 20 minutes to cover social justice in Islam it's unrealistic because Islam is all about social justice. It is one of the attributes of God. God is just. So duraan dursee maqaan rabbiitu akka amantii islaamatti maqaa 99 rabbii qabu keessaa rabbiin isa haqa tahe, isa dhugaati, isa gartee adda naman fille, isa gartee adda naman qoodne, namu akka inni haqa hojjeteen jakka hojjeteen haqa inni isaa maluun rabbiin subhaanahu wa ta'ala galata namaa deebisu jechuudha. Saniifuu gariin keenya xiqqoo introduction waa'ee islaamaa godhuu barbaade. Isaan dura immoo mee waa'ee isin gaafachuu barbaade. To just engage the audience, I just want to throw some questions. So I just say true or false. I will just ask you in English. So which is the following? Following is the true statement. So if it is true, you just say true. If it is false, you just false. So the first one is all Arabs are Muslims. Do you believe all Arabs are Muslims? Okay. And also the second one will be all Oromos are Waqifata. Good. All Amhara are Christians. All Muslims are Arabs. All Muslims are Arabs. So I'm Oromo. Can I be a Muslim? I see. So it's none of the above. This is the misconception that usually happens in our society. Historically, I used to believe all Amharas as Christians. We used to say, if you want to refer to Christian, we used to say the Amhara. So if you want to refer to a Muslim as a young, when I was 7 or 6, we used to say Oromo or Somali, that's misconception, misunderstanding too. So I just wanted to bring to this, and at the same time there's another misunderstanding that all Oromos are Waqifata or Waqifanna, and which is, I just wanted to bring this as there's scholars in here who knows better than me. So this is something that as a human being, we are all born to believe or not to believe, or to worship or not to worship. We have that right. Even in Islam, there is nothing that that dictates somebody to believe in Islam. In Islamically, that's the other misconception and misunderstanding in Islam. Yeroo hedduu waan gartuu Islaamni akka waan si dirqu namni Islaamummaa hin qabaanne akka namummaa hin qabaanne namni Islaamummaa hin qabaanne akka gartee mirga Islaamni qabu hin qabaannetti ilaalatama. Kuni dhugumatti waan shari'aan keenyalleen amantiin keenyalleen dura dhaabbatu. Social justice in amantii Islaamaa keessatti akkamiin ilaalama? Dirqama namni tokko walqixxummaan hawaasummaa, walqixxummaan namoomaa, walqixxummaan amantiidhaa, walqixxummaan namni tokko ilma namaa tahee waan argatuu qabu guutuu argatuu qaba jetti shari'aan Islaamaa. Fakkeenya nuti fudhachuu dandeenyu qabnu Rasuulli sallallahu alaihi wasallam ergamaan Rabbii maal jedhani namni tokko qabaataa tahee daabboo takkaamoo waan nyaatu qabaatee ollaan isaa fedhu kiristaana ta'e islaama ta'e waaqeffataa ta'e ta'uu baannaan ofii yoo daabboo lama qabaate daabboo takka ollaan isaa osoo beela qabu daabboo san hambifatee kan ofii isaatiin nyaatu tahe namni ollaa isaa immoo waan laaqana nyaatu kan qabne inni immoo laaqana nyaatu argatee ollaan isaa yoo waan nyaatu hin qabaanne kan inni akkasitti lakkisee deemu yoo jiraate inni sun amantii hin qabu jaa amantiin isaatu qulqulluu miti namni sun muslima illee ta'uu hin danda'u jaa san bira dabri rabbiin subhaanahu wa ta'ala qur'aana keessatti yoo dubbatu waan walqixxummaa keessatti duraan dursee walqixxummaan tun lubbuu teessanirraa eegaltii jaa dhugaa ifitti himuu dhugaa amanuu dhugaa fudhatuun dhugaa hojjechuun namarratti miti dura lubbuu teessanirraa jalqabdii jaa rabbiin subhaanahu wa ta'ala dirqama godhee dubbate maaliif amoonni dubbachaa jirru the role of social justice in Islam akkamiin ilaalama walqixxummaan hawaasummaa walqixxummaan namummaa walqixxummaan ilma namaa amantii islaamaa keessatti akkamiin ilaalamaadha waan ilaalaa jiru so aayata gartee suuraa annisaa jaamu waan si ajabu keessa suuraa arrijaal quraana keessatti hin dhageessu suuraan maqaa dhiiraatiin buute hin jirtu yoo jiraatte suuraa ibraahimi garuu immoo nama tokkoon buute sun waliigala dubartiin akka hawwaniitti maqaa isaan ulfina qabaniif kabajaa isaan qabaniif maaliif akka nama tokkoottis yoo fuutee ilaalte dubartiin miidhama isaan miidhama yeroo nu dahanii fi miidhama gartee nuti miidhamnu ilmoo dhaluudhaaf dachii fi samiidha sadarkaa isiin dubartiin qabdu keessatti amantii islaamaa keessatti maal jaa rasuulli sallallahu alaihi wasallam jaalala gartee ulfina isiin qabdu gaafatamee rasuulli sallallahu alaihi wasallam dubartiin takka haatii ilmoo deesse takka ifi abbaan sadarkaan isaanii yoo ilaalamu shari'a islaamaa keessatti harka 75 fi harka 25 gaaf tokko namni waahilli rasuulaa dhufee gaafate alayhi salatu wasalam maal jeen yaa rasuula rabbii namni akkan irra jaalatamaa jechuun namni hundi osoo jaalatamaa ta'u irra jaalatamaa eenyu kan akkaan gartee hiriyaa irra caalaa godhachuu qabu jennaan haadha teetii jeen itti deebi'ee ammas eenyu jennaan haadha teetii jeen maraa lamaffaa sadaffaa itti deebi'ee ammas haadha teetii jeen maaliif jennaan ummanni islaamaa warri gartee hayyoonni amantii akkamillee qoratu maal jaan osoo ilmi namaa tokko haadha isaa duudarratti baadhatee loqoonni hayyoon isin garaami isinuma garaami gaara akkas taana maaliif garii namaa muuguun arkaa jira خير إن شاء الله سلايدي سني في مقومة نسلا ونحن عندك جرت سلايدي لا هاته مال جي رسول هيوني مال جان أسو بعد تاني كعباتنا مرة ترب أسو هذا دودرتي بعد تاني أسوني في نانوني تكامو أمريكا تنرى ديستانسين أسي في سعودي جرو مكة خجرو هجم تكفقو أمن سعد الدمي أفر على أساس الدميتي أسو هجستك guyyaa baatii meeqa baadhatee haadhatee asirratti achi deemteeni laalaa isiin gaafa cimimuu si deessuu san laalaa takkitti hogguu isiin cimimuu qabdu san laalaa takkitti isiin isitti dhageema sanillee kafaltee hin dandeessuu jaa rasuuli sallallahu alaihi wasallam hagas takka dubartee zamana duritti dubartiin waa dhaaluu hin dandeessu turte akka shari'a islaamatti shari'a islaamaa duratti jechuudha osoo ergamanii dubartiin lubbuudhaan awwaalamaa turte dubartiin mirga hin qabdu mirgi wanni jaam hin jiru amantii islaamaa duratti zamana ummatni arabaa lubbuudhaan fudhanitti awwaalaa turan dubartii yoo isaanii dhalatte awwaalaa turan islaamummaan dhuftee kana balleessite dubartiin mirga walqixxummaa dhiiraa wajji abbaa fedhee hojii akka qabaatu yoo duute yoo jaarsi irraa du'e yoo ilmoon irraa du'e akka dhaaltu akka dhaalamuu dandeessu walqixxummaa ilma namaa akka qabaatu shari'aan islaamaa duba isiif mirkaneessite kun yoomi amata kun takkaa fi 440 dura seenaa amantii islaamaa keessa yoo hatta islamic history jettanii kitaabotan historically gartee scholarly barreeffamanii dubbistan arguu dandeessan dubartiin mirga qabaachaan ture yeroo gargar amma dhageessan daqiiqaan kudhan anaaf guddaadha abshir inshallah maaliif alaa kulli haal utaaloo barbaada gama biratti ما جاء ربي سبحانه وتعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله يا إسان والرب لقوم سنجا أمتا حق الرجرات تهادا أمتا حق الرتي يو إدونا ما خلالتن يو وان وفيتن خيست اللي لقاك أباد رجا ربي سبحانه وتعالى san qofaa miti maal jee lubbuu teessan irraa jalqaba yoo lubbuu teetiif yakka daleede lubbuu teetiin illee yakkaan dalage jeeti amaniiti adabama sila adabamuu qabdu san lubbuu teetillee adabii jaa rabbiin subhaanahu wa ta'ala maaliif fakkeenyaaf inki jibda qabeenya namaa saamta dogoggortee fakkeenyaaf osoo ragaan jiru osoo ragaan sitti hin baane yoo dhugaadhaan kijibdee jiraate kijibee jee fudhadhu qixaata irra laafaallee arkachuu dandeessa yoommoo namni cubbuudhaan jiraate akka rasuulli sallallahu alaihi wasallam himatti mootiin tokko jira mootii tokko wanni isa cabsu wanni mootii tokko gartee bulchiinsa isaa daddafee jarjarsee isa cabsuu taa'u dhugarraa fagaatuu isaati gaafa mootiin tokko kijibuu jalqabe gaafa nama miidhuu jalqabe shari'aan islaamaa maal jetti mootii san turumna isaa hin eeginii jaan yeroon isaa gabaabduudha duuba gaa amma yeroo ammaa tana keessatti wanni argaa jirru kun biyya keessatti akka nama tokkotti akka nama muslimaatti mootummaan abiyyi dura dabre kun mootummaa akkam ture ni beeytan waan isin himuu miti waan narra isinillee beeytan maaliif waan halkanii guyyaa dhageessan barreessitan dubbistanilleedha mootummaan wayyaaneedha gaafa ture sabaa sablamoota walitti nu buusee umri isaa dheereffachaa ture amantiidhaanis walitti nu buusee umri isaa dheereffachaa ture gaafa inni immoo gaafa yoo yaadattanii jiraattan seenaa gaafa ummata muslimaa kana bakka 3 fi 4tti addaan qoodee ahbaashirraa amantii ahbaash jedhamtu lubnaan ta turte ummata muslimaa kana gartee dirqiidhaan dirqee fidee ummata islaamaa kana maal godhe imaamoottan akka koorsii fudhatu godhe dirqee jechuudha maal jaa ummanni muslimni Itoophiyaa keessa jiru ammaa kuni ummata if duraaf biyya kana keessatti shoorar keessaa tahee biyya tana gartee islaamummaadhaan garagalchee miidhama biyya kanaaf gaaga'amsa tahuu je'ee sababaa saniif ummata amantii muslimarraa garii fagoo jiru fi maxxansee ummata kaan walitti buusaa ture jechuudha. Duuba maaltu taa'ame seenaan hedduudha daqiiqaa 20 keessatti kamiin kafar godhaa fi kamiin dhiisaatu narraa maaliif nama daqiiqaa 50 fi sa'aa takka ol dubbatu bare isinitti hin kijibu. Sa'aan takka na biratti akka daqiiqaa 20ti. So sanumaafuu xiqqoo tooppika irraa utaaluun dirqama kiyyaas natti ta'uun oolu gabaabatti ittiin deebi'asanii akkamiin godha seetan haasawni kiyya dheeraa waan ta'eef social justice in islaamitti deebi'uu barbaada maaliif dubbiin harkaa walitti hin laaqamneef shari'aan islaamaa gabaabatti waan isin ittiin ajajju jira haqni yoo isin biratti dalagamuu oole mootummaa haa ta'u abbaa kee kasi dhalee haa ta'u haadhatee tasi dhaltee haa taatu obboleessa kee haa ta'u ilmoo ta'e haa taatu nama ati akkaan jaalattu haa ta'u qabaata haa ta'u dhabaata haa ta'u amantiin islaamaa maal jetti dhugaa qabaadhu jetti yoo abbaan kee yakka dalage dirqama gartee ati abbaa kiyya jettee yakka abbaan kee dalage yakka haati tee dalage san hin dhoysinii jette shari'aan islaamaa yoo mootummaa irraan tan abii jiru kun abbaa kiyya tahe shari'aan islaamaa yoo inni dogoggora qabaate dhugaa itti himurraa hin deebinii jetti dhugaa isa gorsurraa hin deebinii jetti abbaa keetillee haa ta'u haadhateetillee haa taatu qabeenyallee ummata qabu dhabaataallee ummata hin qabne sanillee yoo ta'e abbuma fedheehuu mataa hin qabatiniif jetti dhugaa dubbadhu dhugarra jiraadhu dhugaa deeggarii jetti maali zamana Umar ibn Khattab رضي الله عنه خليفة رسول ربي صلى الله عليه وسلم إيجا رسول الدنيا تنردوان مال قدو تريبيتني dhugaa qabaatu isaa keessaa ganda keessa deemeeti to'ata dubartiin zamana sanii ogguu waraanni gartee baatii 6 baatii 9 irraa tura dubartiin takka in weeddiste weeddisuu beektanii weeddisaa turte خانا رسول عمر بن الخطاب دقيفه مال قولوا جرتي انت لون وي اوسو جارسي خيا منجراتي arraantana osoo abbaan mana kiyyaa mana jiraate arraantana kophaa kiyya kana dhaggeeffamee hiraaraa hin buluu jette maaliif baatii jaha ol irraa ture mootiidha Umar ibn Khattab jechuun nama mootiiti nama bulchaati nama bulchaa gartee Arab Peninsulaa gartee waliigala Arabaa naannawaa san bulchaa ture halkan gaangee isaa taatee farda isaa taatee waan fudhatee hawaasa keessa deema rakkoon hawaasaa maali yoo gaangeen karaan inni gaangeen irra deemtu tuni yoo usfaaltiin tahin gaangeedha usfaaltiin haa jaramtu jee nama gaangeedhaaf falmu ilma namaa bira dabree bineensaaf falmaa ture jechuudha. Maal godhe intaloo san dhaggeeffate maaliif weeddistaa jeen maal taatee jee rakkoon ta'e maali jennaan jaarsa kiyya akka malee narraa fagaate akka malee yaaddee hedduu yaaddee jetteen duuba silaa inni jiraate manni kun akkanatti hin boora'u jetteen maal godhe beektanii seera baaseef duuba seera baasee maal godhe waraanni tokko baatii afurii ol akka alan ture duba dura maal godhe haadha mana isaa dhaqee hin gaafanne intala isaa Hafsaa jedhaniin maal jeen beeta dubartiin takka hagam takka abbaa manaa isiitirraa turuu dandeessi jeen duba dhiifa manaa godha hawwan kiyya dubartiin takka hagam takka abbaa manaa isiitirraa turuu dandeessi hagam takka obsuu dandeessi dhugaa ni obsitu dubartiin amata 20 fi 10 obsuu dandeessi garuu hagam takka jajjabina san qabadii obsuu dandeessi yaanni isi cinquu fi dhiisuu hagam takka danda'a jennaan baatii afur irraa baatii jaajeen akkasii ol garagalee mirga dubartii eeguuf seera baase jechuudha maal jee dhiirsi tokko waraanni baatii afur booda waraanni biraa galee waraanni ala jiru sun galee waraanni biraa bobbahuu qaba walii galaa miti soo shari'aan islaamaa social justice systemii kana akka laafatti hin laaltu waan laafaadhaan miti waa'ee lafarratti yoo dubbanne waa'ee lafaa qabeenya ofirratti shari'aan islaamaa yoo qabeenya ofirratti namni tokko du'e akka wareegamatti fudhatti duba qabeenya ofii nan saamiin narraan fudhatiin yoo osoo jettu namni tokko du'e ulfinaa fi kabajaa qaba shari'aa islaamaa keessatti shari'aan islaamaa social justice kana keessatti yoo rabbi dubbatu maal jaa ilmi namaa hundinuu walqixa uumamee jaa rabbiin subhaanahu wa ta'ala tokkoon keessan tokkorra hin caaltanii tokko diimaa ta'eef gurraacharra hin caalu tokko gurraacha ta'eef diimarra hin caalu wanni isinii kana garagara wanni addaan isin uumneef jaa rabbiin subhaanahu akka abbaan keenya riif dubbataa ture abbaa siistama abbaa gadaa keessattis beeta nutiitu hin beekne malee 0 minute je doktor ay dal amantii waan barsiisu keessa baallama guutuun qaba baallama saniif jecha dhaabuun qaba saniifuu galatooma alfaadha asumatti hin dhaabu daqiiqaan dinamna an fariisite beeta
sorry baay'een gaddaa
abshir
akkuma dammaa fi aannan walitti nammanii ergaan fi barsiisonni wanti isaan nu jarreen sadanuu nu laatanii jarreen sadanuu nu waliin hiranii amantii keenya warra guguddoo sadanirraayyuu waa'uma akka aannaniif dhadhaan aannanii fi dammi walitti makamee waan dhuganiiti nu ta'e galatoomaan jedha. Yeroon keenya waan baay'ee gabaabaa ta'eef adda kulaniin gaaffii lama duwwaa hayyaminaan jetteetti harki booda sanaatii ol ba'aa jira isin dura gaafadhaa itti aanaa immoo isin isaan man argi kan isaanii okay no isinuma naa kennaa fi maayikiroofoonii naa kennaa fi adde yeah, Sami. Yeah. Yeah. Microphone in Kenya sajira. Wai agaafatu inni sunis walumaa duuba. Yaa tole walumaa duuba. Wala dhageenyu yeroo baay'ee hin qabnu yeroo keenya kan gumneef wala dhageenyu please we don't yeah listen to each other. Isin gaafadhaa gaaffii keessan. Isa booda deebisu walumaa duukaa deebisu. Galatoma. Isa lammaffaa hundumti isaanii deebisuu hin danda'u natti fakkaata isa jalqabamee
biyya. Isa jalqabaa sana adde Saamiyaaf qabsuutuuf deebisuu barbaada. Gaaffiin gaafatamtee amantiin Islaamaa maqaa Islaamaa qabdii ja'anii yeroo gargarii ilmaan keessaniif maqaa Islaamaa baasaa nuun ja'an jechuu kana dhageenyaa jeeti. Kuni akka nama tokkootti waan qabatamaa jiruu miti. Waan jiru jira. Maqaan irra filatamaan irra jaalatamaan Rabbii biratti akka amantii Islaamaatti irra jaalatamaan irra filatamaan irra caalaan Abdullahii fi Abdurrahmaan Rasuulii sallallahu alaihi wasallam daa'iman keessanitti yoo jaalattan yoo barbaaddan akka amantii Islaamaa hordofutti san baafadhaa. Sani achi immoo Rasuulii alaihi wasallam namoota yeroo zamana isaaniitti isaan harkatti amantaa Islaamaa qabate akkama fakkeenyaaf ummata hedduu jira maqaa isaanii isinii dha'uu hin danda'a. Namni inni irraa jijjiire yoo jiraate birraa fa'a nama jedhaniin qulqullu birra jechuun qulqullu jechuudha. Qulqullu rabbuma qofa hatta arba ta'eetu jechuudha. Maqummaan arabaatu maqaan isii qulqulluu ture intaloon tun islaamootee jennaan qulqulluudha. Qulqulluun rabbuma qofa. Amantii Islaamaatti nama fakkeenyaaf Naasiri anummaanu Naasir jechuun maqaa Islaamaatii miti. Naasir jechuun maqaa Islaamaatii miti. Jecha arabaati. Haadhaa fi abbaan kiyya amantii barumsa gahaa hin qaban ture. Dhiifama naa godhaa isaanillee asirratti dubbachuu barbaanne. Hiikaa kanaahu namaatu isaanitti hima malee hin beekan. Kuni wallaalarraa kan ka'eeni. Ilma kiyyaan amma tumsaa baafachuu fi danda'a. Maqaan kiyya amma Naasiri. Naasir jechuun tumsaa jechuudha. Afaan Oromootti yoo jire tumsaadha. Yeroo gargari wallaalarraa kan ka'een maftuuhaa fa'aa jaama jechuudha. Maqaan roongii fa'aadha. Afaan Arabatti amma yoo afaan Oromootti dabarsite balbala banamtuu fa'aa balbala windoo banamaa fa'aadhaan maftuuh albaab maftuuh jechuu dandeessa. Balballi kun banaadha jechuu dandeessa. Balballi kheyrii balballi waan gaggaarii jechuu dandeessa fakkeenyaaf. Amma wantoonni akkanaa kun afaan Arabaati malee amantiidhaa miti. Garuu maaltutu jira? Hubannaa gahaa waan hin jirreef, beekumsi gahaa waan hin jirreef, namni xiqqashoo barateetuma waan itti fakkaate san dura amma fakkeenyaaf waan biraa dhiisa. Yoo wallee afaan Arabaa dhagee namni Quraana itti fakkaata. Bara akkasii bara. Yoo wallee afaan Arabaa dhagee Quraana itti fakkaata. Haraami isin hin jiru usee dhaggeeffata. Yommuu afaan Oromootiin shubbise haraami isin jaa. Maalirraa kan kee kun? Wallaalarraa kan keenye jechuudha. So kuni maal barbaada? Beekumsa barbaada. Afaanuma Arabaatiinuu maqaatii baafachuu hin dandeenye jira shari'a Islaamaatti. Afaanuma Oromootiinis maqaatii baafachuu hin dandeenye jira shari'a Islaamaatti. Qulqulluu namaan jechuun fakkeenyaaf qulqulluu rabbumaa. Gabricha qulqulluu yoo jenne fakkeenyaaf gabricha qulqulluu eenyutti maxxansine? Rabbitti jechuudha. Amma maqummaa kiyyaa yeroo gargarii warroonni akka malee amantii hubatan maal jedhan? maqaan kee kun sirrii miti naasir ta'uu hin dandeessu kan nama gargaaru kan nama tumsu rabbuma qofa garuu giraamaatikaalii afaan arabaatti nahwii waan jedhamu jira yoo annaasir alii san itti dabalte alii fi laam annaasir sun ati malee namni nama gargaaruu danda'u hin jiru jechuudha. You are the only jechuudha. You are the only protector and helper jechuudha. So aliin sun waan biran jirreef namoonni gargarii san hin beekan dhufanii morminatti godhanuma maqaa kee naasir jechuun dhufanii. So clear na fakkaata feetu gaarii nama gaarii maqaalee gaggaarii baafachuu dandeessa. Islaamatti dirqamaa miti maqaa namni islaameellee maqaa qabaatellee hin jijjiiratin nama jennee dhorkinee jira. Tazarraa, tasaffaa, narraa himi. Abbuma fedhee hojii asafaa dhiifama mana godhaa.
Tole moggaasi maqaa amantii islaamaa keessa qofaatu hin taane isarratti waa jedhee darbuu barbaada. Moggaasi maqaa amantii oromummaadhaa wajji wal qabsiisee moggaasa maqaa eegaa kan jiru ergaa dhiibbaanii impeerarootaa yookiin immoo warra impaayera ijaarratanii irraa cabee tarii warra waaqeffataa tarii iddootti eeganii jiruun jedha. Innumtiyyuu sababii cultural influence taanee fi Oromoon baay'een maqaa keenya akkuma argitan maqaan koo Wandimmuudha. Maqaan abbaa kootii Laggaseedha. Kanaaf ammatu soneessaa arguu baattanii gurbaan kun Oromoo miti naan jettu. Sababii kanaatiif anituun gara barumsa tiyoolojii hin dhufinii barsiisaa ture elementary school barsiiseera. Elementary school yagguun ijoollee galmeessuu waan baay'ee na rakkise ture. Amma firoonni koo baay'een musliimaa. Amantii protestaantii keessa jira. Hiriyoonni koo baay'een firoonni koo baay'een immoo amantii protestaantii keessa jiru. Ijoolleen mana barumsaa dhufanii galmaanii gar tokko afaan warra Yihuudotaa qabu gar tokko afaan warra Arabaa qabu. Ijoollee fira kooti jechuudha. Naani hiriyaa koottiin hime maaliif afaan Oromootti moggaafattu hin jedheen. Maa inni namni jaallatee miti ammoo amantii tokko hordofu amantii sana keessaa akkuma isaan amma ibsanii maqaan kunii yoo mucaan qulqulluu akka ta'u barbaade achuma keessaa fuudhee moggaafataa jechuudha. Fakkeenyaaf amma Iyyaasuun nama amantii kakuu moofaa keessatti warra Yihuudotaa keessatti nama kadhatee Waaqayyoo aduu dhaabeef. Kanaaf mucaa koo Iyyaasuutti gaafa moggaafadhu nama aduu dhaabuu danda'u kadhata isaatiin jechuun barbaada jechuudha. Garuu Oromoon maqaa kana caalanuuf kana gitanii baay'ee qaba gati ta'ee fi hangama kootiin kanarratti baay'een kan sirnii ta'asii yommuun baradhullee yommuun peeperii koo barreessullee waan tokko gongodhullee baay'ee afaan Oromootiif maqaan Oromoo moggaasi maqaa Oromoo I think amma obbo maaloo fidooti isaan moggaasa maqaa jedhanii kitaaba tokko barreessaniiru. Hunduma keenya iyyuu gargaara amantii kamiin keessa yoo jiraanne inni kun dhuguma karaa ittiin Oromummaaf tokkummaa keenya eeggannuudha. Erga afaan Oromootiin moggaasuun amantii kiristaanaa hordofuu koos hin hambisu ta'ee amantii musliimaa hordofuu koos hin hambisu ta'ee afaan Oromootiinis moggaase. Nama tokko argeera Kaataar keessatti isaan ta'uu nama isaan fakkaatu tokkon arge ijoollee lama of biraa qabu. Maqaan mucaa keessanii eewennaan maqaa baay'ee gaarii maqaa Oromoo natti mani. Yeroon laalu akkuma isaanii musliima. Baay'een bira dhaabadhee wajjin haasa'e. Wajjin dubbadhee akkamitti moggaaftani. Kanaaf namoota keenya gara kanatti encourage gochuun gaariidha. Gama biraatiin gara gaaffii isa gaafatame sadan keenya yoo deebisuu qabnutti isinii ce'a. Garaagarummaa amantii dhiphisuuf maal gootani amma ani assaayimentiin Oromoo inni itti aanu birmadummaa booda amma siyaasatu gargar qooda Oromoo. Ammatu har'a kaasanii Oromoodhaaf bilisummaa kennanii fi birmadummaa kennanii fi biraa deebi'anii assaayimentiin keenya inni guddaan itti aanu amantiidha. Sababiin isaa ani karaa kootiin malee mootummaa waaqaatti hin galtu jedha. Inni amantii gara biraa hordofuus akkuma kana. Ani akka paasteriittis isiniin akka tiyoolojiyaanittis akka Oromoottis yaaduun barbaada. Akka kiristaanaatti amantiin kamiyyuu isaan akkuma dubbatanii kabajamuu qaba. Namni Oromummaa filatee hin ta'u. Oromummaan uumama keenya, eenyummaa keenya. Garuu Oromoo ta'ee kiristiyaanni, musliimni waaqeffataan jira. Ani yemmuun argiu godhu gama kootiin long before introduction of Christianity and Islam to Ethiopia, the Oromo have their own religions. This is my Christian theologian perspectives. I'm not imposing. Utuu amantiin kamiyyuu amma yommuu mishiinaariyoonni biyya keenya dhufanii utuu kiristinnaa nuun kaasini gama kootti on deebi'e gama kiristinnaa duwwaatti anaan on dubbadhe utuu isaan biyya keenya dhufanii kiristinnaa nuun kaasini Oromoon waaqa beeka ture waaqa tokkicha waaqa garaa gurraachaa beeka ture barreeffamaan lafan kaa'atu ture akkasumatti waaqeffata waaqa uumaa waaqa kana kanume lafa kana kanume so we have to read amma wanti barreeffaman baay'een jiru waa'ee isaa eeggati ta'ee fi sababii kanaatiif maal jechuun barbaada siyaasi inni gargar nu qoodeyyuu ga'a amantiidhaan immoo ati musliima tuun jedhin ati waaqeffataadha tuun jedhin tokko nuyi kan jedhu lallabna nuyi waldaa keenyatti nama amantii kiristiyaanaa hordofus nama amantii musliimaa hordofus hunduma tokkotti ilaaluudhaan duwwaatuun taane hin barsiifnas waldaa keenyatti kanaaf gara fuulduraatti immoo akka kana amma immoo waltajjiin itti walitti dubbannu yoo argameera waltajjii akkasii irratti immoo carraa gaafa argannu musliimni kiristiyaanni waaqeffataan tokkodha oromummaan tokko nu taasisaa oromummaa keenya irratti hundoofnu kan jedhu dabarsina jechuudha galatooma.
Kullaniin fixa gaafii san xiqqashoo waraanaa deebisuu qabutu jira. Nuti akka namatti akka namoomatti waaqeffataas islaamaas kiristaanaas nuti mootummaarraa qorrifachuu baannee participatiinii keenya mootummaa keessatti heddummaatu. Mootummaanis akkuma gartanitti amma kaabinoota isaa yoo gartan hedduu uummanni musliimaa hireen kan namteef hin jiru. Wallaaleetii miti. Gaheen isaa achi isa gahuu dadhabdeetii miti. Eega mootummaan social justice systemiin tokko kana namni tokko gartee aksasa walqixaa qabaachuu danda'uu qaba. Uummanummaan gartee mana barumsaa fakkeenyaaf akka yoo dhaga'utti Ingilaanditti Prime Ministeroonni Ingilaand 17 Prime Ministeroonni Ingilaand 17 high school tokko waliin baratanii jiran. Oggoo kana yaadu maal si fakkaata? High schooliin suni high school irraa qaalii high school irraa gartee bakki barsiisonni ciccimoon keessatti barsiisan. Maali kuni maal garsiisa? Uummanummaan hiree qabu qoftiin bakka barumsaa gartee aksesa isaan qaban qabeenya isaan qabaniif qofa hireen uummata akkasii keessaniif kan nama osoo hin taanetti qaamni mootummaadha paarlaamaa mootummaadha hawaasa isaa hundeef keessaa calaqqisu yoo danda'e qofa hawaasni biyya keenyaa tasgabbaawee wal amanee walirraa osoo waliin qorrifannee waliin jiraachuu danda'a. Takkasani lammataa immoo wanni godhamuu qabu waan asirra barreeffadhee ture duraanii kaan akkasuma naaf yeroo takka Oromo Religious Council kun maal godhuu qaba? Collectively gartee interestii uummata Oromoo amantii irratti hundaa'ee ijaaramee dhimma amantii isaarratti wal mari'atee yoo rakkoon amantii isaa jiddullee dhufe waaqeffataaf islaama jidduu islaamaa fi kiristaana jidduu uummanni gartee hangaftoonni kun warri amantaa sadeen irraa walitti dhufe kun dhimma isaanii nuti gartee react goonee daddafnee uummata owwisuu fi wal owwisa osoo hin taane jarri kun dhufanii maal waliin godhuu qabna akkamitti wal taasisuu qabna rakkootan akkamitti dhaamsuu qabna rakkoo dhuftuufoo akkamitti prevent godhuu qabna waan joon kana yoo danda'ame ijaaruun akka malee barbaachisaa Itoophiyaa fi Itoophiyaa ala keessatti leeju. Lammaffaan immoo uummanni Oromoo amantaa sadeen irraa bakka bu'u sabaa sablammoota biraa amantii biraa qabu waliinillee nuti hubatti isaan wajjinillee dalaguu danda'uutu kana keessatti biitii teenya nagayaa fi tasgabbii harkatti jeetiin yaada ulfaadhaa galatuma.
Naanna ilaallatu afeera natti hin fakkaatu ammoo ijoollee masaa barbaacha ala buleedhani waayyuu banoo nama jedhamutu kanaaf uf ta'uutu erga oromummaa irratti wal taane dhimmi unidha waaqa tokkichi irratti wal hin taaneef hin jiru bitaanis yaaban mirgaan wal geenyi kooraadhumadha jedhani musliimni illee waa'ee waaqaa lallabe Kristaan illee waa'ee waaqaa lallabe illee waaqeffataan illee waa'ee waaqaa lallabe waaqa tokko jalatti akka dhalli namaa buluudhaan himu garuu wanta walitti nama hin buusne ofirraa eeggachuun wanta nama walitti hin naqne ofirraa eeggachuun hedduu barbaachisaadha. Cigoodhaan wal rukutuun inni tokko isa tokko irra jete inni tokko isa tokko tuffate jiraachuutu wal nu dhabsiisa malee waaqa keenya akka waaqa keenyatti waaqeffannee buluu wal nu dhabsiisu kun dhaamsa kooti fayyaa ta'a.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, yeah, we're done. I have to go to the airport. My flight is just coming up, so I can't stay here. Thank you.
Baye Galatoma, thank you so much. Thank you to the panelists on the previous panel. There was a message, before we move on to the guest speaker, there was someone who's supposed to say a brief message about the film. Are they in the room? Okay. Just a couple minutes.
Assalamu alaikum. Akkam ooltanii movie seenaatii oguu miitingin dhume booda agarsiifti. So oguu miitingin dhumateen booda dhiifama wajjini takka gad baataniiti tikeeta irraa bitattanii haala saniin gargaartanii jechuudha. Deebitanii ilaaltu. Artiini qabsoo Oromoo keessatti hangam akka nu barbaachisuu fi akka waa gumaachaa as ga'e ani as dhaabbadhee isinitti himu na daran beektu. Lammaffaa ammas seenaa jechuun nuuf akka Oromootti eenyu akka isiin taates explanation kiyya narraa hin barbaaddanii sanuman isinitti dhaamuu fi gaa'ee hogguu isaan conclude godhan booda takka iddoo kana gallakkisnee as keessatti qophoonnee isin eeyna tikeenni hulaa duratti gurguramaa jira. Yoo kaasha harkaan qabaanne taate iskuweera qabna kaardiidhaan bituu dandeessu jechuudha. Kanuma galatoomaa.
All right, we're going to move on. I welcome Rami Mohammed as the introducer of our guest speaker.
Now, of Kulcha, I'm just gonna speak in English, and I do apologize. I'm a typical millennial. I have my phone, so I'm gonna speak from my phone. I was actually doing the volunteer sheets and membership for OSA back when I was doing post-secondary college classes here at the U. So in 2006, I had a pleasure to meet her. I was just mesmerized with her ability to speak and so articulately in front of so many just amazing scholars that I've read books about, and like my uncle, Dr. Muhammad Hassan. So I was just happy to be just amongst her. And I will add, I was super disappointed at that conference because there was not a single woman speaking. And I'm a very opinionated person, I said so. And the next year, 2007, they had a woman speak. That was scheduled on Saturday. It was an accomplishment for sure, but she was scheduled to speak on a Saturday morning, got pushed to afternoon, got pushed to the evening section, and then on Saturday evening, they moved her to Sunday. Most of you participate in OSA on Sundays, usually in the afternoon. What it means is it's only people who wants to be elected next year or who wants to present are the one that stay. Everybody else went home. In fact, they pushed her after OSA issues. And I was beloved, especially since they pushed her so that Nagaso Gidara can speak. Oh, I lost it, and I spoke, and I let them know how I felt. And I swore I will never attend OSA until I got an email from Kuleni. And I was very, very happy and very excited. And back to my point, I'm an artist. I studied fashion and I make clothes for a living, and that's my art. I have an honor to introduce a most amazing artist I've seen in a very long time. Like I said, I studied art, and I've studied and analyzed a lot of European art, especially French Revolution art. And I saw how they convey their history. Whatever issues that was going on, they conveyed in art. And a lot of times we take for granted how Oromos actually portray art. We do, in fact. The amazing, the most talented artist, like Alibira himself, he said, Yahunde Bareda, Yahunde Midaga. A lot of people think that's kind of a love song. He wasn't allowed to speak about the heroes who were fighting for Oromos, like Muhammad Kiti. So he went ahead and sang about him. Or whenever Hachalu say, Miti wal kabate laga chetu lale lale me waisa wal lale. Things like that. Oromo art is told through both movies currently, also poetry, and most importantly, song. Our song is just not a song. It's not about jalala. It's not about love. It talks about literature. It also talks about the condition of the Oromo people. And Haj Alu has done it for my generation, has spoken widely. And today I have the honor to introduce, I have a formal written one. Give me 1 second. Yada Saboji. He was actually born in the Oromia region of Ambo. He's a Seattle-based Oromo graphic designer and an artist. If you guys could check him out actually on YouTube, he's an amazing reggae artist, which I was kind of sad that he didn't put it on his bio. Yadisa has been exhibiting his art regionally since 2006. In 2010, he actually earned international acclaimed when his designs was selected for African Union flag. Give it up for that. That's just an amazing, it's the normal part is doing that. His works include human rights, minority rights, African justice. He also has given a public topics including showcasing his work and exhibits, and then he's been doing tons of work in commission. So when you are outside, there's an amazing art that's displayed, not only by him, also by Biniam. He's from Minnesota. Very proud of that. Those arts are out there, so whenever you're looking at it, just don't look at it as a picture. For example, that very painting that's out there, when you look at it, when I usually look at it, is I say, if I close my eyes and think of if Oromia was not invaded, okay? That would be a face of Abagada I would see, and that would have been the norm I would have been born into, or my kids could have grew up in. So art doesn't just tell you what's going on right now, it also gives you an imagination what could happen. So I want you to guys, please help me welcome Yadisa.
Put this in me. Yes, I will clip that on with the PowerPoint. Oh, nice. I need to do one thing. Thank you, Kulane. All right, thank you very much. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I hope they didn't take time from the religious leaders, because I'm flying tomorrow morning and I don't want to be on the wrong side of God, especially in this time. Before I start my presentation, I wanted to say some thanks. First, I want to say thank you to Kulene for giving me this chance to come over here and talk to you guys and show my work. It's very important that her presence here is also a continuation of OSA's contribution. I know her father is here, and also mother is here, and then now she's leading. It just shows how the OSA's work is like a baton, like people kind of send their works through it, and I hope my kids one day be able to stand in front of you or contribute or volunteer and do the great work. I also like to thank the OSA board and the people that welcome me here and taking care of me. It's really great to speak here. Sometimes I find it very, very hard to speak in OSA because everyone presents in a very amazing and nice way. I learn a lot. So when I come to the stage, I'm like, oh, I have to do something that people find valuable. So it put the pressure on me all the time when I present. I'm also wanted to say special thanks to Tenesh Jersa for being here. Her speech really, really touched me because I see some kind of resemblance with her, the passing of Baro Tumsa, and also my father. Actually, Baro Tumsa and her married in our house. It's really crazy that I am on this show and this presentation and find her wedding photo from my own home when I was a little kid, but I was not born at that time. One thing that I wanted to say is why I'm so interested with her presentation, with her speech, is because in my mind, the founding of Cairo and the founding of the movement, the founders died way before the Kairos came into the view, because those mothers and fathers who sacrificed their life in prison, tortured, displaced from their homes, are the ones who left us this conviction and struggle that we consider Cairo today. So when we see Cairo doing all these great things and stand up for the people, they're basically following the spirit of those early mothers and fathers who actually stood up and say no. So her presence here and the fact that she gets a stage to talk about her experience and what Baro Tumsa is able to do is actually really a great thing for me. My presentation is about Oromo art in the era of change, but I speak more about not the art itself, but what it means to have art and what art do for everybody's consciousness. And it's really important because these days what we see is a lot of people were kind of disappointed because they think power and hegemony comes from owning a house, an office. Like being Narat Kilo would be like the maximum that people can get to. But when you really see what's happening in Ethiopia and how the hegemonic system controls the thinking, and we see that's done through centuries of work towards our people, it's really easy to understand why some of the things we see are happening. For example, if you really hear about the Aksumite Empire's history, and then you cannot hear about the Geda system, that's hegemony. Basically, that is what is intended to be like, it's supposed to be like that. And also when you hear about the Adwa War and then what even to the pinpoint of kings and queens discussion, and then you don't hear anything about the Finfinne situation, that is another way of hegemony, because there is an intentional effort out there to eradicate, make things invisible, so the power can take hold and narratives can be made to all of us to believe. And then even now I see it when people totally forgot about Oromo protests and all of a sudden we have heroes, and I'm like, but we have social media and there is a whole lot of information out there that shows who died for this struggle. It all comes because the hegemonic system controls the media and the culture and all of the other things, that the thinking behind the state. So I just wanted to explain that in my own terms. I'm not an expert on the things, but I see, as an artist, I see things in a very different ways. I see things in a very out of the box way. So I always wonder, why is my people are invisible in this discussion? And then instead of being angry about it, I kind of go back in and see why that happened. So I just wanted to walk you through some of that. So basically, culture. What is culture itself? Like, when you think about what culture is made of, it's a behavior, it's a norm found in human society. You can call it a country, you can call it a community, but the culture is basically made up of elements like music. That's basically in Ethiopia, that's music, clothing, art. It can be visual or performing art, cuisines, sport, media, language, religion, holidays. These are the kind of ingredients that creates one's culture. And when you really see these ingredients in Ethiopia and see how they are, you probably found, you get to the point why this happened to a lot of us. Not only just Oromo, but a lot of other not like the Ethiopian Amharic-centric system kind of took hold, but forgot a lot of the people. But when you really investigate deeper and see it, this is what you find out. For example, I'll give you a perfect example. I can't do a research that I can share with all of you right now because I don't have the resource for it. But I see, as an artist, as a designer, I see things, and visually I can understand what things meant to a lot of people. For example, I'll give you a perfect example. If I say Brazil's sport, what comes to mind? Soccer, right? So if I Googled Brazil sports, and I did Google that, all of a sudden when I go to the image, all the soccer players will come up. The Peles, the Ronaldinos, and all of that. So basically that shows you, in a way, what people think when those cues are put in there. When people see those things, what did they see? They see what we consider the norm for that thing, whatever it is. You can put like a, Ethiopian restaurant, and then you can see that. And I even use like, let me see if the next one is that. Minnesota Oromo community. So basically, you'll see from the image, you'll see Oromo people, and also Amani, by the way, is right there. So, anyways, thank you for your activism. And then you'll see a struggle of people trying to, Oromo people trying to change the government. You can see the image kind of tell you a narrative. So you'll see some kind of message from it. But this is not a real thing, but hegemony is also not a real thing you can touch. It's not a tangible thing. It's not like land or a political office. It is a thinking behind people, so they will do or say things, and that kind of manifests itself. The reason why I like things like Google or music, because I'm a musician. I ask people, do they like my music, and they probably don't say that to me, but when I go online, I can count the views. I can see how many people listen, how many people download it. So it doesn't lie to me. So I get the real thing. If I really bummed, if the song is bad, I will see I don't get a lot of people listen to me. So digital cues like this have some truth to them. Like, they don't lie. They tell you exactly what people feel. So I wanted to see if those cultural things that I mentioned to you, the sport, the music, the cuisine, they really reflect Oromo people. So basically what I did is I went to Ethiopian music. And then this is what I got. And this is what Ethiopian music is, according to that. This has actually happened the day I did this PowerPoint. You can Google it and see it right now too. But what I see when I see that is I don't see Acharu. I don't see other Oromo musicians. It's very limited to what we consider hegemonic system, right? Basically, so it just shows you what Ethiopian music is. But this is happening too many different times. People are putting these writing articles or whatever. I just gathered them together and show you. And you can see there is a lot of invisibility to other people in this query. The same thing happens, for example, when you say Ethiopian clothing. That beautiful dress is not there. You cannot see a very, like Arfasi's beautiful dress, you probably don't see it in there. There is a way of So I want you not to take this as a real result, but I want you to see what you see, like as a community, what invisibility means. When we see, we don't see ourselves, but we exist in a lot of numbers, but you don't see yourself in the mainstream. Why is that happening? And then Ethiopian art, I'm an artist, I paint a lot. But when you see Ethiopian art, it's very the same. Like it just have that religious tone to it, mostly Orthodox religious look and feel. It came from the kings and queens time. The rest is not Ethiopian. So I have people asking me like, why are you always painting Oromo? I'm like, I paint a lot of things, but the reason, what they're saying to me is, why don't I paint like this? Because that's what they accept, like the norm. Anytime we break something out of norm, what happens to you, it's treated as a rebel. That's why people ask you like, are you Oromo or Ethiopia first, even if they both cannot exist together. The point is basically to tell you that you have to be in line, you have to be in this lane, and anything other than that lane is considered a taboo. And then I'll go to Ethiopian performing art. So you'll see that. So when you go to Ethiopian cuisine, again, you get the same kind of, basically the people that wear the dress I showed you earlier will eat that food. It is always the same kind of things. Now, before I show you this slide, I went out and checked how Ethiopians are known around the world. And most of the things that they are known around the world for comes from Ethiopian sport. So when I say Ethiopian sport, what comes to your mind? Athletics, right? Nobody knows us for soccer. Nobody knows us for hockey. We are known for athletics. So to my surprise, when I did Ethiopian sport, I don't see athletics. You might know why. A lot of athletes are Oromos, and what's considered Oromo sport is that nobody can blame me for this because I didn't put this in there. You have a cell phone in your hand, you can just do it right now and see it. But ask yourself, why all of that accomplishment of a person from Ethiopia who ran with bare foot and get the first gold medal in the world for a black person, and then the first female gold medal winner for Africa, Darartu Tulu, and Kananisa, and Turunesh, and just list goes on and on and on. Why don't you see them in there? Even if you see them, it's like a very one or two. But why is that? It's because the hegemony wants you to think one way, and the rest is invisible. And that's what's coming now. So when people, for example, now get so confused why a person who rent a hall consider himself a government, how is that possible? It's because they are from the hegemonic community. They can say that kind of things. Just because you rent a hall, it doesn't mean you run a city, but they do it and they believe it too. That's how shocking it is. And same thing with Ethiopian media, Ethiopian language. Even if the Ethiopian religion is like this, and then when you say Ethiopian religion, the rest of them are all void. You don't see Wakafena, you don't see Muslims, you don't see the other religions there. Also, I'm pretty much sure you guys run into people who always ask Ethiopia the Christian country, even if it's just completely avoiding the rest of the people who are 33 or 43%, 35% are Muslims and other religions. But why is that? Because it's the way people think. So when I say art, in our community, I see art very limited in the way people describe art. If I say art, they either say, are you a painter or a musician? Mostly people think it's a musician. But art is a little bit vast in its presence itself. It can be an animation art, architecture, body art, calligraphy. Like, for example, body art. It is nikasat. Exactly. We have a lot of, my mother have all kind of nikasat on her body. That's the body art. Calligraphy, ceramics, For example, there are Oromo people who make chochos and other things that have all kind of designs. And I find a lot in Smithsonian too. They have a very unique design, and that's an art that people actually did. Collage art, computer art, conceptual art, design, drawing, folk art, installation, jewelry, land art, mosaics, painting, performance art, photography, poster, printmaking, public art, religious, sculpture, tapestry, video art. See how the art is a very vast thing, and we also think in only maybe just one or two, but we can do a lot with art. And all of these things together are how we can actually left a dent on the thing. For example, as an artist, I paint a lot, and I don't get people to pay a lot of attention to my work. It is continuously knocking on people's door just to show them the painting, or just to say, buy this art or just this poster. Because in our community, art is not as respected as it was. But its effect is huge in changing minds, in changing people's understanding. So I want people to think about those things. So what's cultural hegemony? That's exactly what I just described. Cultural hegemony refers to a domination of a rule maintained through ideological and cultural means. It's usually achieved through the social institutions, which allows those in power to strongly influence the values, norms, ideas, expectations, worldviews, behavior of the rest of society. The reason why I just want to show this definition, a lot of people think hegemony comes from people to people. There are no Amara people out there trying to be on top of Oromo people, and it's not like the people are not the problem. This is an institutionalized. It's actually, it is intentional, institutionalized. If you go back to the Zaman Masafen's time, and then you see how the kings and queens are put in these paintings, so we can think that they are actually look like an angel. You know, one of the Medici families, for example, they used to pay money and put themselves in there, and I see people use it in church sometimes. It just makes me a little bit sad, because when you remember that painting of like the San George, and you know the San George is so white and beautiful, and the guy who's stabbing looked like my uncle, and I'm like, why is that in this church? Really, like the guy who's bald, he looks just like my uncle, and I'm like, we've been told that's the devil, and I can see it today. I was in Ethiopia 3 weeks ago, and I saw that painting hang somewhere. And it's just because that is how society passes the norms to you, and then we just take it. But we have to have a cultural counter-hegemony. And my whole presentation is about the counter-hegemony. Is how can we change this? Why do we feel invisible in our own land when we have 40% of the population, huge economy, but why do we keep on knocking the door where people are not listening to us? You see it in politics. You see it in life. You know, for example, right now I see a lot of appeasing going on in Ethiopia, but nothing changed, because the more you appease people, the goalposts just keep on moving. Because when you're trying to appease a system that did not respect you to begin with, you will have no result. But the counter-hegemony says you need to take that yourself. So I will say it will start from us. Nobody can give us recognition unless we start recognizing ourselves. I think Professor Solomon talked about it earlier when he talks about the land grab and how some of the land grab happened when our own Oromo brothers and sisters were on top and held. And we cannot blame someone from Adwa when we know someone from Oromia sold the land to them. So it's very hard to say we can keep our own people, but we blame others without getting accountable for ourselves. So we need to start the accountability from here. And that's the same thing goes for hegemony too. We have to start investing in our own art. We need to start going to our own shows, create opportunities for our musicians, go to restaurants and encourage them to have the food. So we need to start investing on ourselves, and there is nothing, I will say, there is nothing wrong with that. So, because tolerance has its own limits. You cannot have a tolerance all the time, because the more you tolerate this kind of behaviors, the more invisible you get. And that's exactly what we're going through, is because we're not appetizers. Like, let's say when you go to holidays, you're home watching holiday TV. You can go through all the TV channels and you will find basically your culture is not there. And then they would probably drop 1 or 2 songs and then you are there. We're not appetizers. We are to have our own culture to be respected and celebrated. It's the most important part, and there is nothing wrong with asking that. Because we also have the economy in our hand. I don't have the current numbers of what kind of buying power Oromia have, but most of you understand that. And before I even talk about that, I want you to go back and just think about Kaepernick, right? So when Kaepernick first kneeled down, the entire nation say that's wrong, and some of us support it because we feel like that's his right, and that's the most American thing to do, is to express yourself. But the thinking was, you know, why is he doing that, right? But nobody addressed why he's doing it. Like, he's talking about people who are gunned down and police brutality and all those things that the serious questions are blurred or smoke screened by his kneeling down. So when they kick him out, even the president talked about it. You know, NFL leaders start calling them, you know, all kind of bad things I don't want to repeat here. But then what happened? We all stopped. I stopped. I used to watch Seahawks game with my kids every Sunday. That was my religious thing to do. But then I stopped. I stopped wearing the jerseys. I stopped watching TVs because I was really angry, because I have a 9-year-old son and I can see him being in the same place with Trayvon Martin unless I start acting about it. So I stopped buying things that I used to buy before, gears. I can watch the TV shows. So now NFL owners start getting angry and they start saying, what are you going to do, basically? But then the revenues start dwindling down. And the action actually made them think it again. Today, he's back. He got like $80 or $90 million settlement because he stood up his ground, and the people who supported him basically did stop supporting an NFL that did not respect the right of a black person. So that is a buying power, in effect, basically making a change. And at the same time, hegemony also can be defeated that way. You know, why are we having all this buying power? And then support a system that totally do not respect us. I think you know my drift, where I'm going with that. Oh, 5 minutes. You know, I'm trying to be respectful of time. So I'll make it quick. What's my suggestion? Invest and support where your culture is valued and celebrated. I'm not talking about moms and dad shops. I'm not talking about going after your neighborhood restaurant and refuse to buy their food. I'm talking about companies. Like, when I went back home, I see big companies advertising completely product that do not represent people who are they selling it for. Sometimes ask yourself, what am I in this product? Where is my culture respected? And before you do anything, you can also talk to the people who are running these companies. Why am I not seeing myself in this organization? Why are we not seeing ourselves in this beer or in this whatever product you're selling? And then that changes the behavior of the companies to include but they have to feel the pain first, because people don't understand your accent, they don't understand your culture, they don't understand who you are, where you came from, until they lose the money. The minute that money's got to start getting dry, they will understand your accent, they will understand who you're from, they will understand, because money changes everything, and you have the divine power to do this. Imagine how your culture will benefit with better representation, you know? And this is very interesting, because with better representation, not only the oppressor, the oppressed that benefit, the oppressors too, because it is everybody. It's a win-win situation. It's the only reason why it's not happening is because the hegemonic system took hold. But if you really open yourself up for the change, everybody benefit from it. Don't you think a beer company will benefit if there is more sales in Oromia or places like that? So they need to think that way too. It also teach them. Now, like NFL is taught the lesson that every kid's life matters. Ask why you felt invisible, why you're supporting the business. That's your personal goal. Like every time you see something, ask yourself if you can actually invest your money in that product and if that product really supported you. And stop supporting businesses that refuse to make an effort to reach out to you and celebrate you. And there are a lot of companies like that in Ethiopia. There are a lot of companies that actually say what you're gonna do. And it's continuously rubbed in our face, so you need to stop supporting them. Basically, that's not a crime to not buy something. You can exercise your own right to make change in your life. Support artists by buying their work and supporting them. Inclusive cultures are rich, powerful, and effective. I put that photo in there for Rofnan. I don't know how many of you know Rofnan. I don't know his music that much, but when I was back home, everybody listened to his music. If you really listen to his music one by one, he tapped into every culture and sampled the work of their culture in his own small way. I'm not calling him small, but in his own small way, he used an inclusive work that celebrated throughout the country, and now everybody likes his work. Then when you see it, why? It's because everybody sees itself through his work. The Oromo people see it, the Amara people see it, the Dorze people see it. They got a different music sample that he added into it. It is not a big thing, but it's an example of bigger example. And stop apologizing for doing so. Don't ask permission to celebrate your own culture. It is always what makes me annoyed, because people just keep on apologizing to celebrating their own culture. I love myself. Thank you, thank you. And if someone would not angry about me celebrating culture, it's not their problem, and I have no time to spend on that. But I continuously celebrate my culture, and I also celebrate other people's culture. Do the same when you see other cultures overlooked. It's not only about us, it's about the community of people. Oromuma, I talked to one of my brothers here, and he was telling me how Oromuma is about the person and also the community of person around it. It's not about, you have to see the person in that, so when we see a culture, even other culture are not our culture, we have to see ourselves in it. By uplifting it, we have to lift ourselves too. That's why we have a problem, because our system, the other system did not uplift us, but trying to put us down. When we fight that, we also need to make sure that we uplift other cultures. Be awake and stay awake. And change never happens in one day, but eventually you will see a change, and that will be your legacy. I put this photo in here because when I was back home, I did an interview with OBN, and me and this journalist, we went out and we were in Adama. We were having a good time, but then he took me to this nightclub. The whole night, the nightclub refused to play our Oromo song. Finally, he went and asked him, how can we ask you to play Oromo song in Adama? And that's why I made this presentation, because sometimes we even did not see ourselves, our own culture, in our own backyards, because that's how much the hegemony is on us. So, thank you. And if you guys have any question, I will answer it, but I don't know if you have time for that. You have time?
Yeah, maybe one question. Okay.
Tell them that.
Okay, we'll take one question. One.
It better be a good one.
Anyone? Okay.
Give me a tough question.
Okay.
Guys, plugging it.
Okay, let's just use this. Basi.
I can hear you.
Basi.
I can hear you.
Yeah, it's
for the Oromos.
I'm loud enough. Okay. Thank you very much. This is a wonderful presentation. I especially enjoyed the hegemony and the counter-hegemony things that you put out there. Let me just jump into my question. My question being, when most Oromos actually don't exist in Ethiopian urban landscape, even in Oromia itself, how is it possible to translate our buying power, our buying capacity, or taking our business elsewhere into what you call counter-hegemony? Because most of these things, in my opinion, work in an urban or in a city context, because you don't see many Oromos in Adama, you don't see many Oromos in Finfinne, you don't see many Oromos in Jimma, you don't see many Oromos. Oromos don't exist in these spaces as a community. Well, we exist there as individuals. Rather, don't you think the most appropriate strategy is to completely withdraw from these cities and go and build a different city where, I mean, in a state of struggling with a settler colonial establishment, why can't the government, why can't our political parties, why can't our investors actually leave these towns and create another one?
Okay, just one more.
Okay. Okay. Si qabaachuu keenyaaf niin boonaa jechuudha. Wanni itti boonuuf okay, English dubbattuu mi afaan. To have you, I'm proud because even you create for African Union a flag. Everybody obey for the flag, for American flag too. Then I give you little homework, what you love it. We have a special achievement in Horn Africa or in the world. I mean, Irrecha. Can you paint a lot about Irrecha in the futures? And because you are an influential person too, then you're going to put for all celebrity. Thank you, I appreciate you.
Well, I'll answer the questions quickly. It's very hard to, it's easy and hard to answer your question. It's easy because sometimes when I feel like my kids have a lot of problem with me, I can just send them to the neighbor's house and I don't have to deal with them anymore. But I love them because those are my kids. The same reason why you're not moving from Jimma, because you're angry about the system. You have to fight it, you have to stay. And and I don't believe in these colonial things because Oromos have to start acting like they own the land they're living into. Okay? I don't walk with my heads down, I can walk with my heads up, regardless of what happened to me, because I'm a son of a Gada. And that teaches me to respect people and to respect others, but also expect others to respect me back. And if they don't respect me back in my own homeland, then I have a problem with that. For your question, I really take your assignment to heart. I painted 2 or 3 Arecha paintings. One of them are outside. Actually, I want you guys to buy these paintings and posters and support OSA. It's very important to show support to your artists, and we have paintings and posters out there, and we're trying to raise money for the OSA's Finfinne project that they're gonna go in July. But to say to your question, I also not only painted, I sing about the Recha massacre, and it won the best reggae in the United States. You guys can find it online. But I will continue to speak about that because it's very important to me, and I respect you, and I will take your request to my heart. And I thank you very much, and please support other artists.
Baye Galatoma Yadesa. I'm so appreciative of Yadesa and also Binyam Rabba, who's in the audience, because they took their time and efforts to help us have a first art exhibit at OSA, which is right outside. I'm sure many people have seen it, but if you're curious about that, we decided that we also want to celebrate the work of Oromo artists. This is an academic institution, but we also understand the role and importance of art as a form of expression, whether it's celebrating our culture or as a form of political expression. So I would like for us to just please, once again, round of applause for Yadesa, and thank you, Binya. We're going to move on to our last panel. And I appreciate the patience of people in here who came for the film. The conference became delayed, and sometimes you just can't control that. So I hope you also enjoy this last panel. If the panelists could please join me. So the title of the panel, it's actually a round table, is Advocacy During the Transition and Beyond, Seeking the Well-Being of the Oromo and Others in Ethiopia. This roundtable was created because I and the Oromo Advocacy Alliance really wanted to use OSA as a forum to really share more information about OAA, its impact, its work in the previous couple of years, and moving forward, its vision. And so I welcome Lemmi Talahun and Ade Abane and Felix Horn. I'm going to introduce them all now, and as they set up their PowerPoint. So Lemmi Talahun, he is the Development Director and Government Affairs for Oromo Advocacy Alliance. He's an experienced advocate. He has managed various campaigns, assisted in facilitating and drafting legislation at local, state, and federal levels. He currently works in refugee resettlement, coordinating with the State Department's Bureau of Population for Migration and Refugees. He also serves on various boards and commissions on election, community development, civil rights, and is a founding member of the Oromo Advocacy Alliance. Felix Horn is the senior Ethiopia and Eritrea researcher for Human Rights Watch. During his 8 years at Human Rights Watch, he has documented the human rights dimensions of Ethiopia's development programs, telecom surveillance, torture, media freedoms, protest-related abuses, and other topical issues in the Horn of Africa. Prior to working for Human Rights Watch, Felix has worked on a variety of indigenous rights and land issues in northern Canada and internationally, including several years of research into the impacts of agricultural investment in several African countries. He holds a master's in resource and environmental management from Dalhousie University and an undergraduate degree in urban planning from the University of Saskatchewan. I might have mispronounced those. Okay. He is currently based in Ottawa, Canada. And finally, Ade Abane. Her name is Bonnie Holcomb, but we know her as Adik Abane. I don't think she needs an introduction, but I'll briefly say that she is an anthropologist whose work with the Oromo in Northeast Africa and the diaspora began in the early 1970s. She is a co-founder of the Oromo Studies Association, and she was on the OSA board for several years, and also a co-founder of Oromo Advocacy Alliance. She is currently a senior research associate with ICPS at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. She has co-authored 2 books, A Political History of Ethiopia and a Study of the Ethiopian Famine of 1984 and 85, in addition to several analytical articles. Without further ado, we're going to start with you. Okay. You want to connect to the...
No, I don't have slides.
Oh, you don't have slides? Okay.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the advocacy that we, our partners, including OAA, undertook during the Oromo protests. Some of the lessons learned, some of the things that perhaps didn't go so well, hopefully to inform future advocacy efforts, because as we know, Abiy coming to power is not sort of the end of the journey. So first of all, a little bit on what Human Rights Watch does. I think there's a lot of misconceptions. So basically, what we do is we document human rights violations. So how do we do that? We primarily it's through interviews with victims, with witnesses, and with perpetrators, and then using other tools to corroborate the testimonies that we get through that. That research then forms the basis of our advocacy efforts. And for the most part, the advocacy efforts are behind the scenes. So we're doing advocacy. Ideally, we do it with the Ethiopian government, but of course the previous government wasn't too interested in talking to groups like Human Rights Watch. But failing that, we also do advocacy with those governments that have influence over Ethiopia. And because Ethiopia is such an important partner for many governments around the world, there are lots of potential advocacy targets. Now, whether they use that influence or not, of course, has always been the big question. So just because you don't see things happening right now in terms of publishing a lot of materials doesn't mean that Human Rights Watch, other international NGOs are not doing advocacy behind the scenes. It's the nature of advocacy that it's relatively private. So during the course of the Oromo protests, so since 2014 up until things changed, there were over 40 different organizations that we partnered with on advocacy efforts. Some of that, it was just coordination, trying to understand what they were doing, what we were doing, to make sure that our messaging was in line. Other coordination, other partnerships were much more sort of in depth. And that group of 40, and there's probably many other groups that we don't know about that were also doing advocacy, that group of 40 did advocacy with, as I said, many governments around the world, Western governments, but also other governments like China, IFIs, so international financial institutions, so those that fund Ethiopia, like the World Bank, UN organizations, including the Human Rights Council in Geneva, UN Special Rapporteurs, so those are independent experts appointed by the UN to look at things like torture or freedom of assembly, things like that. Members of Congress, investors in Ethiopia, and what we will call positive deviants. So those individuals within the Ethiopian government that were perhaps more open to reform. I'm not going to talk too much about that part of it today, but I'll focus on the international advocacy. Some of those groups we partnered with work on thematic issues, so perhaps they work on torture or freedom of assembly. Others are specific to a particular ethnic community in Ethiopia, whether it's Oromo, Somali, etc. And the basic underlying strategy there was that all of those groups that I mentioned, the governments, the IFIs, the investors, they all have a lot of potential influence over Ethiopia. And it was just trying to get them to use it in a way that was rights respecting. And I think we should be clear when I talk about this, it's the protesters that brought about the change. Those that continually faced bullets and aggression and arrests and eventually brought about change. However, the advocacy that of these groups and others did, and the exposure through the media that many actors helped put forth really kind of created an environment that was conducive for change, and make sure that when change comes, that a lot of the reforms that were implemented were things that we wanted. And of course, when Abiy came to power, a lot of the reforms that happened in the first few months at least were things that Human Rights Watch and many of our partners had advocated for many, many years. So what were some of the lessons learned? What were some of the things that worked? I'm just going to focus on 6 things. Number 1 was just the importance of persistence. I think we had a lot of partners that kind of came in, they would go to Geneva, they would talk to the diplomats there, the Human Rights Council, and just get dismayed and walk away. And that's, you know, when you're working on Ethiopia, a country that's such a strategic partner of so many other governments, you really have to be persistent. Fortunately, most of those 40 organizations were extremely persistent. And the message I kept sort of delivering to people was that just because you don't see Western governments behaving differently in public towards Ethiopia doesn't mean that things aren't changing internally. And over the decade I've worked on Ethiopia and tried to push Western governments to be pushing Ethiopia to be more rights respecting. We have seen a change. I mean, initially we would go with our reports on torture and things like that, and Western governments be like, we don't agree with you. We don't see that. We don't know who you're talking to. Then slowly over time it began to change. Yeah, okay, you've got a point. We're starting to see those things. And then I think as the protests began, there was a real shift. And part of that was because the nature of the abuses were much more public. You know, you could see the videos, you could see people being shot. You know, the transformative power of social media was really important there in shifting opinions. You couldn't really deny that these things were happening. Whereas previously a lot of the abuses were in private, in detention centers, things like this. And so basically by the time the change happened, our viewpoint on what was happening wasn't that different from what Western governments were saying. The disagreement was on how or what to do about it. You know, we wanted them to be more public, you know, apply pressure, etc. but the actual understanding of what was going on was pretty much in line. And I can say now today as well, the understanding is not far off where we see things. And I'll talk about that very briefly later. The second lesson is the importance of catering messages. I think too often groups go into meetings and just sort of talk about how, you know, Oromo in this case, Oromo have been abused, all these things are happening, without any understanding of who they're actually meeting with. So I think it's extremely important to understand that your advocacy target, what are their interests in Ethiopia? You know, is it development assistance? Is it economic growth? Is it counterterrorism? Is it stemming migration? And I think when you begin to understand that, you can frame what's happening in a way that makes sense for them. Now, all of those things I just described require stability. You know, if Ethiopia is not stable, there's going to be no economic growth. There's going to be a lot of out-migration, so on and so forth. So I think when we started to frame we're a human rights organization, right? So we speak this sort of weird language of freedom of assembly, freedom of association. It doesn't mean a lot to your average person, quite frankly. But when you begin to talk to governments about how not showing respect for human rights is actually increasing the likelihood of instability in the country, which then means they're not going to get their counterterrorism partnership, they're not going to make progress on development, so on and so forth, then that began to sort of shift thinking, it seems. Number three, I was also very amazed. You know, you feel like you're banging your head against the wall when you're talking to foreign governments a lot of the time about Ethiopia. But when I was doing interviews with victims, I was often amazed at how much it meant to them, some of the progress that we were making. And one example I can think of is I was interviewing a group of 6 people who 2 days earlier had been in a protest in the Barana area of the south, and security forces opened fire. A couple of their friends were killed. One of the people I was interviewing had a bullet in his leg. And these kids were between 12 and 15 years old. They were absolutely terrified. And of course, they had fled the town fearing arrest. And as we were kind of getting set up, I got a message that the European Parliament had passed a resolution condemning the Ethiopia government for their protest-related abuses. And and we've been working on this resolution for a long time in Brussels. And we knew it would pass, but we didn't know what the language would be. And the language was extremely strong. It was the strongest resolution condemning the Ethiopian government that I had ever seen. And I read it out to them. So, I mean, I was ecstatic, but I read it out to them, and they all just started crying uncontrollably. And they began to explain to me that, yeah, they just assumed that the West would never speak out. It would never sort of, try to bring about positive change. So I think it was really positive for me to see that this sort of thing had an influence on those that were on the ground. Number 4, and this was talked about in the previous presentation, money talks. I mean, when things changed in Ethiopia, or at least in the advocacy environment from what we could see, it was when investors started to feel threatened. It was when donors started to withhold development monies. It's when the World Bank started to get nervous about investing in Ethiopia because of some of these stability concerns. And that's when we saw the EPRDF or the TPLF really starting to pay attention. I think several months before that, we also began to target Human Rights Watch began to target investors more and more, trying to get them to sort of push the Ethiopian government. I can give you many examples of when we were working on an issue for years, trying to influence governments, trying to influence the Ethiopian government, just nothing would happen. But the moment an investor came in, someone that had money and investment in the country and said the exact same things that we were, the Ethiopian government quite often took action very quickly. So I think that was an important lesson that was learned. Even China, it's quite incredible. Everyone has a perspective of China as not respecting rights, and that's of course largely true. Lots of concerns about rights abuses in Chinese development projects across the continent. But China was actually raising human rights issues with the Ethiopian government. It's incredible. And I say this because when we were starting to talk to Western governments about this sort of instability argument, they're all saying, yeah, China's starting to say that. China was concerned about human rights not because they care about human rights, but they were worried about what that would mean for their investments in Africa, or in Ethiopia. Fifth, just the importance of focusing on issues. I mean, I think there was a lot of groups that we worked with that were clearly focused on politics. So when the advocacy targets, well, what do you want? I ask you, what do you want? The answer is, we want the TPLF gone. Well, that's political. Yes, the TPLF were abusive and responsible for a lot of human rights violations, but you also want to make sure that the next government that comes in is not involved in similar human rights violations. So I think focusing on issues, focusing on what you want into the future is extremely important, and less so on sort of settling scores, which is something that we saw a lot of in terms of advocacy, but now sort of in the post-TPLF world, I shouldn't call it that yet, the TPLF's still there and still lurking, but there's lots of concerns about sort of score settling along ethnic lines, along political lines, etc. Number 6, the importance of coalitions. This is a tough one. Coalitions, partnerships take time. It takes a lot of discussions, a lot of negotiations. You quite often have to soften your stance in order to be able to work with groups that perhaps have a different ideology. That's challenging. But I think at the end of the day, when you can go to a government in coalition, across the political spectrum, across the ethnic spectrum, with a sort of consolidated position, that increases your credibility dramatically. And just a few words on House Resolution 128, because we are here in the United States, and this is a panel for OAA. HR 128, at the end of the day, was a non-binding resolution. It wasn't terribly strong, not as strong as the European Parliament resolution, but I think it was incredibly important because it was one of the first times that I saw groups from across the ethnic divide, mainly Oromo and Amhara, working together. And I think that was so important. And talking to a lot of the congressional officials about how that resolution eventually got passed, the credibility of our little coalition went through the roof when they saw Oromo and Amhara working together. And it wasn't that Oromo and Amhara need to see the world the same way. That's not going to happen. It's just, let's be realistic. But when it came to HR 128, there was a convergence of goals, of opinions. Both groups wanted that resolution to get passed and the Ethiopian government to be condemned. And so they worked together amazingly well, and I think OAA deserves a lot of credit for that. So what were some of the mistakes that I saw groups make? I think credibility was one. I mean, we are quite happy, Human Rights Watch is quite happy to work with diaspora groups that are focused on human rights issues, or of course local groups that are also focused on human rights issues, but there aren't many of those under the previous government. But so many people, at the first few minutes, if you're an Oromo group or an Ethiopian group and you walk into a meeting, they're assessing your credibility in that first few minutes. Is this someone that A, knows what they're talking about, B, is being reasonable, and C, is going to tell me something that I can do? And I think too many Oromo groups go in very aggressively, assume the person knows everything about Oromo, starts using terms like genocide and really, terms that have a legal connotation. It's not whether that happened or not. That's not relevant. It just undermines credibility very quickly. I think I also rarely see any of the diaspora groups that we work with ever acknowledge that their group has done anything wrong. And I think that undermines credibility very quickly. So one of the classic ones during the protest is that there was not a single stone thrown by protesters. Well, there was. They were mostly peaceful. I will, having researched this extensively, I would agree they were mostly peaceful, but there were stones thrown by protesters. There was violence committed by protesters. And I think it's helpful to acknowledge those things. Similarly, now in sort of the I said it again, the post-TPLF world, acknowledging the wrongdoing of some elements of Karo, I think, is important. There have been aggressions carried out by Karo in Gideo and Harar, in a variety of places. So as soon as I criticized Karo, I got the time up sign. I got 5 minutes to go. Okay. So let's see here. It's hard work. I think that's one of the other. I've been invited to so many workshops and presentations and conferences by different Ethiopian groups, and particularly by Oromo groups, and where they want to start up an NGO, they want to do advocacy, they want to do research, and we're very happy to support that. Lots of excitement, lots of eagerness, and then there's nothing until they meet a year later. I think this is probably a familiar story to some of you. So yeah, I mean, it's hard work. There's a lot of grunt work to do advocacy effectively, and I think that's one of the failures I see. The other thing is that within those groups, there's sometimes 1 or 2 people who do a lot of work, and everything gets shoveled on them because they're capable, they're hardworking, they get stuff done quickly, and eventually they burn out. And I'm sure we've seen that a lot. And of course, this won't be a surprise, so I'll just say it quickly. Lots of territoriality. I think one of the things that scares international organizations away from working with the Oromo groups, one of the things, is that there's so much infighting. And I know this is not news, but compared to some of the other Ethiopian groups, the Amhara groups, there's less infighting, or at least less evident infighting to us. And often it's hard for us to unpack why people are infighting, but a lot of it seems about history and personalities and political power and all the usual things. One other thing about credibility, if you're going into a meeting to do advocacy, you need to do research on who your advocacy target is. You need to know who you're meeting with, both as an organization and, if possible, the individual you're meeting with. What are their interests? Are they into women's rights? Are they into children's rights? What religion are they? What history do they have on Ethiopia? What do they know about Ethiopia? What do they know about Oromo? Do they know a lot? Do they know a little? You can't possibly come up with an advocacy strategy if you don't know who you're actually meeting with. And I think too many groups go in and just say, I'm just going to talk about Oromo, and then that's that. So you have to have very specific asks as well. What can that person that you're meeting with actually do? If you're saying things like, stop supporting the Ethiopian government, well, probably a junior staffer in Congress isn't going to be able to make that decision. So you really have to cater your message or your ask to who you're meeting with. A tiny little bit on social media. Social media was incredibly critical during the protests, as we all know, Facebook in particular. Shared info real time, both ways. It allowed people to feel encouraged and emboldened, understanding that things were happening in other parts of the region. I think in some ways it democratized the activist space, which is fantastic, although obviously, not everyone has access to Facebook in Ethiopia or in Oromia. But I think there's a lot of bad things coming out of social media. I mean, it is an echo chamber. Most people within each community are talking to people that share their perspective. So you have an Oromo perspective, you have an Amhara perspective, and occasionally those echo chambers come into collision with each other. And what we're seeing is just so much hate speech online, particularly on Facebook, but increasingly on Twitter and Instagram as well. And this is a huge concern. I know Abby's talked about this as well. And what we see is that there's a lack of moderate influencers. So those people in those social media spaces that could calm tensions, they're a moderate voice that have influence. And they've just kind of disappeared from the scene in many cases. And I talked to someone like, where did you go? And basically, they're just, everyone's different, but the general trend is that there's a lot of abuse against those individuals. And so they're just retreating from that space. And so you're left with sort of extremes on both sides. And I see it myself just whenever I'm not that active on social media, but on Twitter I do a fair bit. And the amount of abuse that I get from all sides, including Oromo, has gone through the roof since Abiy came to power. So I'm getting the time up thing, so just really quickly, I just want to talk about our perspective on Abiy really quick. I'm sure that question will come up. First few months, we thought it was really good. The human rights reforms that were put in place were things that we had been asking for a decade, and it was all done in a very short period of time. It was done, or it was pledged to be done. I don't think we could have asked for much more. And I think it was amazing how he quickly garnish support from across the ethnic and political divide. That's an extremely rare thing to do in Ethiopia, as you know. However, and he deserves credit for that. I mean, I think we as a human rights group aren't particularly positive most of the time. It's not in our nature, but we did give a lot of credit to the government. Since that time, we're very concerned about the breakdown in law and order, the complete lack of security at local levels, complete lack of governance at local levels, at a time when many Ethiopians are feeling emboldened to speak out, are trying to settle scores over historic grievances, land, administrative boundaries, resources, etc. And just the complete absence of any sort of plan to deal with this conflict or these conflicts, which are in like 25 different areas that we know of right now, where there are significant IDP populations or significant conflicts between different groups. And of course, rather than getting better, it feels like it could get worse. So the lack of a plan and response to that is of real concern. I know Abiy had a very lengthy public speech yesterday where he kind of reaffirmed that he doesn't have much of a plan, and that's really nervous. Suffice to say that the advocacy efforts need to continue, and I think one of my disappointments post-Abiy was that a lot of advocates or a lot of activists just disappeared. They became cadres, they thought the job was done. Or they didn't know what to do anymore, because it's very easy to just sort of point a finger at the TPLF. Now things are more complicated, so I think now is the time we really do need to be engaging in more advocacy with numerous governments before things get really out of hand. Thank you.
Oromo TV, Oromo TV, Oromo TV, Oromo TV.
Thank you, Felix. That was a great analysis, and thank you everyone for being here. To OSA and Kulani for the opportunity to be here, to have this opportunity to dialogue and just exchange ideas. I'm going to do things a little bit differently. I've sat in too many lecture halls, so I'm not going to stand here and lecture you, but I would like to just let you know and involve all of you. If you have any questions during the time that I'm speaking, please feel free to ask. Stop me and engage. If something isn't clear, just raise your hand and I'll try to find you. So then we can have a little more, less hectic lecture. So what I wanted to present and speak on is the youth opportunities during the transition in Ethiopia. Many times, I think all of us who are, in that young people category are well aware of how seriously we're taken sometimes because of, oh, you're too young, may not possess enough wisdom or experience to be able to speak on certain issues. However, I challenge that whole notion and want to encourage my fellow cohorts to be able to get involved as early as you can. We have seen throughout the world and even historically, the world's biggest asset is its young people, the people who will inherit the consequences of what those forefathers that come before us give us. So we have to be able to take on that burden and take on that responsibility as well. So the earlier that we get involved, the better, because then we have a chance to be part of the process. Mainly for the case in Ethiopia and particularly for Cairo, one of the pillars for me is assessment. So we've got to know who the constituency base is. Right now, estimated 70% of the country's population is under the age of 40. That is overwhelming number, under the age of 40. And majority of them are residing or residents or somehow descendants of the Oromia region. And all of this, you have to ask yourself, you have to think, identify what already exists. Why are we trying to reinvent the wheel? If you try to reinvent the wheel, you're going to run up against challenges. There are systems. Advocacy is a slow but steady process. So it's going to take time. You're not going to see results overnight. Most of us, members of the diaspora, I think have sort of been privileged and sometimes feel entitled because we can get things instantly. And so we want to apply that to everything else. So we see a violation, this is unjust. Somebody has to do something about this. And if it doesn't happen, we're disappointed and we make a fuss. But when you're advocating, you run up against some of the issues that Felix touched up on. Credibility, you have to come prepared. You have to come prepared to be able to make a compromise. You have to come prepared with research, with facts, with assessments, with what you want. You have to be really intentional. So assessment will be the first thing in identifying what opportunities there are for the youth, particularly. The next thing is collaboration. We have to identify organizations, groups that are already doing the work, and other allies, and reaching out to them and seeing how can, asking them, do you have a plan? Do you have a roadmap for young people to be involved? And what is your plan? And if so, how can we start getting involved? Grassroots, so people in the local areas that are already doing the work, whether it's formal or informal. And then, of course, the sectors, public and private sectors. And Felix said this as well, about who you go and you pressure. If government doesn't work, there's always the private sector. Money talks, right? We can go and we can pressure those investors, those stakeholders. And we have to come prepared with what issues that we want to bring to them and what we want to highlight so that they'll be able to see it and say, okay, we can talk now. And then identifying issues and then setting policy goals and then analyzing what social impact that they'll have, what is culturally appropriate. This is all a continuation of the assessments. And then you build a narrative. From that, people recognize your credibility when you've done the work. So part of doing the work, part of taking that assessment, part of being prepared is what helps your narrative. You have to connect all the things that you've done in the past. You have to be the bridge. You have to continue to build that bridge. Just like recognizing art or anything else that you have heard. There's plenty of ways to actually change narrative, to drive the narrative. And so how do we take the lessons that we've already learned and what we've fallen short on and then apply those to this new thing? And then if that doesn't work, get up again, do it all over. Same thing. It's a cycle, but it's a process, and you have to trust it, and you have to be persistent. And then you have to be intentional. What do you want? And in this, is what you want going to be beneficial only for those that matter to you, or is it looking for everybody else? What happens, for me, it's just a concept of being a good neighbor. If you're a good neighbor, you recognize that if your yard is clean and then your neighbor's isn't, a good neighbor would go over and clean it up. Why? Because it's going to make my yard that's clean look messy. So you have to be a good neighbor. You have to take initiative, and you have to be able to think of others before yourself. And then you evaluate. Have all these things that I've done, have all these things that we have worked through, what steps that I've taken. You have to identify the strength. You have to identify the opportunity. Where can we grow? And then you share that information with everybody else. It's not just ours to hold on to. Through all of that, then you create the messaging. You've identified issues, you've identified the opportunity, and then the timing. So you say, why now? Well, why now? Because the demands still haven't been met. The reason why we all started this advocacy network is for mainly the same reasons why all of you are advocates. It's that we recognized the struggle, we identified some close to home than others, but nonetheless, we recognized that struggle, and in recognizing that, we identified that it's important to us. So, how do we communicate that? That's where the messaging comes in. And that's also where the work that you've done previously in those other steps comes in to help you form a precise and succinct message. You don't want to go on and on. You don't want to lecture a member of Congress or someone from another branch of government. You have to be brief, but in your brief message, it has to be clear, has to be concise, and it has to get to the point. You have to sometimes, I know it's hard because I'm also part of this. It's hard to leave your emotions, set them aside. So you have to leave the emotions and let the facts be facts. And there's a saying, feelings are not facts and facts are not feelings. So we got to set those aside, and we just got to let the data do the talking. And then if you're asked to explain, then you can pick up and say, okay, well, here is who we are. This is what we stand for. This is what we want. Be intentional, and no need to give the runaround. And then, after all of this, you have this organization built. Then you got to think, all right, well, when are the roles assigned? What are the roles of advocates? You identify who your advocates are. You identify who your allies are. And you ask questions. Who's doing the advocacy? Has this been done before? What has been done before? Because you don't want to come back and reinvent the wheel, because that only puts you back steps. So look for things. Look for opportunities to collaborate as much as possible, because that will bring us a better outcome. And actually, it'll also shine the light on things that we need to improve upon ourselves. So that infighting that Felix touched upon, if we don't know the core issues that divide us or that put that gap in between us, then how can we expect for others to understand our infighting? Well, why should we work with you? You can't even get along with your own brothers and sisters. Well, that's a very valid question. We need to be able to sit down and be honest and have an honest conversation. I'm going to be harsh about this, and if I'm on no offense to any of you, but you've got to be able to set aside your personal curiosity to satisfy your political intake, and gotta leave that aside. Stop being selfish and recognize that the issues have been swept so much under the rug. Now that rug is a flying carpet because so much junk is piled underneath that. So we have to be able to say, okay, well, we're going to give our young people a seat at the table. How are we going to do that? And then for young people, too, goes the same thing. If you're not allowed a seat at the table, you have to be able to bring your folding chair and take a seat at that table. And there's no other way around it. Everything has to be proactive. So in all of this, you find opportunity. So any questions? Am I going too fast? I only have 7 minutes, so. No questions? Okay, I'll go on. So we gotta ask ourselves, where are the opportunities? Where are the opportunities for the youth? The current opening has opened up a political space for the right to assemble and the right to, express. This hasn't existed before. And this all came on the back of the hard work that the youth laid out, the persistent Qeero and Qeeras who went to the streets and sacrificed their livelihoods so that this space can be open, not just for them, but for all the countrymen, for all the people that are in Ethiopia. So we have to give credit where credit is due as well. We have to recognize this is better than what we once had. And that's very important. Or else, now that we have this little bit of space, if we're so critical that we can't see past the past, then we're going to be stuck in this cycle where no one is going to take us seriously. Then we look at widespread and access to information. That's where the opportunity for a lot of youth is. A lot of youth have been on mediums like social media, email, things that there wasn't access to the, almost 2 decades during the previous regime. So information is important. Information helps bring opportunity, and information helps bring in organization. We're not talking about organization just in terms of institutions, but organizations in having your messaging right, identifying those who you will go and give your specific ask to. And what cost does all this come at? And we have to ask that. Is this going to cost our youth important aspects? How much do we have to compromise? Is this a permanent solution versus a temporary fix? Is this a Band-Aid? Like you get a wound, put a Band-Aid on it. Yeah, it'll stop from gushing at that point, but does it fix the problem? Does it heal the scar properly? And so how we identify that is we have to be able to share and know that the youth are the biggest assets for the country and also the biggest liability. Examples of this is in the Arab Spring in 2011 to 2013. A whole lot of young people took the streets. I'm sure many of you who've kept up with current events know, and nothing has come out of it. And that's because they became a liability. Those young people who organized, who sacrificed and went to the streets, they weren't taken seriously. Their credibility was diminished because they didn't have that organization. And in advocacy, organization is opportunity. So for the recommendations, we have to look at these 4 pillars of what we hope to change, and that is policy, economic, social, and technological. For policy, it's quite simple. What's transparent? What's going to serve not just us, but everyone else that we live with, our neighbors, our friends. It can't just be, we want a universal law for Oromos. We have to take into consideration all the other people that exist. Without that, no kind of policy is going to be magical enough to solve all of our problems. We have to be able to solve those problems, not the policies. The policies help increase the efficiency and the effectiveness. And then in terms of economic, it's employment. Are the youth put to work? One of the biggest issues for us is, as young people, we have great ambitions, but we have to be able to hone that in and say, okay, well, we want to focus on this. But if we don't have the wise counsel of those forefathers to be able to tell us, to be able to help us be a stepping stone, to be able to help us climb, and then for us to lift as we climb, we need to know, is it gainful employment? What are opportunities for us to provide? How do we achieve upward mobility? How do we use policy to be able to create the space to have us engage and to have us give us an opportunity and access to some of the programs of things that we've identified already exist? And then social and cultural impact. Does this fit? Does this fit the what we know, what we've been brought up to know? And identifying that and working to make sure that there is minimal impact in all of these areas. And then technology, of course, all of you in here, how many of you have phones? Just raise your hands. I know all of you use some sort of mobile device at least more than 2 times a day. That's what brought a lot of success to the movement. And we got to continue to use technology so that we can spread the information that we learned, we can educate one another, we can share methods, we can share approaches. So if somebody is, if an advocacy group is doing advocacy in the state legislature, then we got to be able to say, hey, here's a heads up, such and such member may not be for this, or a member in this district has a community. So identifying where these small pockets are and then capitalizing on it. As far as the solutions, thinking of, is it inclusive? Who's all involved? Does it include young people? Does it include old people? Does it encompass everyone in your community? And then, what are you willing to compromise? We have to know that we're never going to get everything that we ask for. So at that point, maturity kicks in and you say, okay, these things I can live without, these things are essential, and then get to the table and start talking. And then after you've done all of these, you have to reflect. You have to celebrate your small victories and know that change isn't just going to come because you went and marched, because you went and met with a member of Congress, or we had this workshop, or we had Felix educate us on what Human Rights Watch does. We got to be able to reflect on these little small victories that can catapult us to the next thing. Because every step of the way, you build more credibility, and as you build more credibility, then you're providing opportunity for those that come after you. And then see what's next. Have a roadmap. I know I'm over my time. About 8 people went over time, so I'm going to make it 2 more minutes. So, and then building a roadmap. I think it's important to have a plan. Not just go in and say, okay, well, after we march, we're just going to be done with the march. I mean, what did you achieve? You got people to see you and ask questions, but did those people really retain the purpose why you marched? So you've got to have a roadmap. You've got to say, okay, we want to take the policy track because policy is going to help even the playing field. Okay, that's a good plan. We're going to go talk to someone who makes a policymaker or lawmaker because it's going to be a good photo op. Then that's a bad plan because you've got to know what's coming next. You've got to know how to build up on what you've already done. It can't be stagnant. It's a process. And sometimes success isn't a straight line. It's going to go everywhere. Sometimes you move 2 steps back to be able to go 2 steps forward. So once you've done all of that, then you begin to think, is the answer really available to us after we've done all this? Actually, the answer has always been there. It's in the problem. The problem is you have to identify what the problem is and then begin to tackle it. You can't just expect that someone else is going to do the work for you. And us in the diaspora, if we want to be really good advocates, we're not taking it as, to try to change their lifestyles. We live in completely 2 different worlds. We're just trying to bridge those gaps. We're going to be the connectors. We're going to be the support when they need us. So if they can't get their messaging right, then it's a responsibility for all of us who have opinions to contribute and say, hey, maybe we shouldn't be this extreme on this issue. Maybe we should highlight this. So everything is shared. It's shared burden, and it's also shared responsibility, but it's also shared reward. And for that, I yield the remainder of my time.
It's on my computer. Yeah. do? Where do I click? Here. Get there. Okay, thank you, Lemmy, for giving me the remainder of your overtime. It's my pleasure to have this opportunity to help to bridge one of the gaps that Lemmy was talking about, and that is to bring the words of the Kero directly to a new audience, an audience of English-speaking people. Now, this room is not full of English-speaking people, but you are all capable of helping to do what we're doing here. Yesterday we did some of that. We brought the words of the farmers. Now we're going to bring the words of two examples of the Kero. So the point of this presentation is that the narrative on Ethiopia needs to shift to include the words and the demands and the messaging of the young people, the Kero Karere, who have sacrificed early in the struggle to get, early in the effort and in the movement to get the message out. They're still doing that. On March the 7th, the Kero and Karere went back into the street to renew peaceful protests, and people were confused. They assumed the Kero's demands were met, and like many in the country, they had welcomed the reforms, but their basic demands were not met. And going back to December of 2015 to start to track what the message was. There are today I'm giving you two examples of Ka'i Kero, Howie Tazara's Gerarsa from December of 2015, and Hachalu's Gerarsa at Millennium Hall. We can't do the whole thing, we've got 20 minutes, but we can look to see what messaging was there and let the world begin to see what it is that the Kero are saying and what needs to be understood in order to understand in order to grasp what's going on in Ethiopia, in Oromia and Ethiopia. Gerarsa is a very powerful and popular, enduring genre of Oromo literature and performed art. I'm happy to follow Yadesa's presentation. It's one among many. It's conveyed orally in poetry, and it has a lot of depth. It has a great deal of depth. Each Gerarsa is grounded in the situation where it's performed. It's what?
Battery.
It's a way of it's a way, okay. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Gerarsa is a way of interpreting the present in light of the past, of airing grievances, of expressing hope, and of connecting what's going on so that you've got a legacy that is continuing. So traditionally, it's chanted by men, and the role of women is to chant and refrain with the ensemble. But however, women have also claimed Gerarsa historically and now contemporarily. Ilfa Nishkanno, Hanisha, Howie Tazara, Sena Solomon, and many others have taken it up and to speak directly to forms of oppression. So Howie and Hachalu both sing Gerarsa at a critical moment in the history of the Oromo quest and the struggle for liberation, from past forms to present forms of difficult conditions that they face of subjugation. In Howie's case, she sings at the dawn, at the awakening of the resistance. Hachalu sang at a different point. How many of you have seen this or heard this video? Ka'i Kero. Maybe there are people in the room who have not. I'm really surprised. She sings, and I'm reading the English, I'm compelled to rise up and sing Gerarsa to express the grievance that's lodged in my heart. I have something to get off my chest. By exhaling, I unleash my spirit, my breath. Whoever decided that a woman should not sing Gerarsa? Hear me, O children, children of my country whose roots are Oromo. Finfinne is my umbilicus. Very important image here. Finfinne, Addis Ababa, is the source through which life flowed into me. It is my connection with the life-giving land. very important to what land means to the Oromo. It's not a commodity for sale. It is the source of identity. And she, as a young person, singing in December of 15, is connecting with the ancestors by acknowledging this. She even goes so far as to say, Biya Tufa Munat. It's Tufa Muna's country. Who is that? That is the person who stood up to Menelik, the last remaining opponent, whose land, whose precious Radda was taken, and the Menelik's palace was built on top of his land as an act of assertion of control over that territory. And that reference puts into context what is going on with her. We're finishing, and she's basically implying that the TPLF is finishing Menelik's job of taking over Tufamuna's part of Oromia. Now, Hachalu is making the same kind of a point when he gets up and sings later. He's saying, this is a just fight. We have not wronged others. We've been wronged. We are actually connecting in the same way as our ancestors have done. What did the Oromos do wrong? Didn't we do everything that was asked of us? We tried our utmost. What remains to be done? What more can we do? We have bowed and submitted to the great and the small just for the sake of coexistence. Now, both of them come back and touch on this issue of caretaking, of ababiyuma, self-management, bringing life out of the resources that were handed down to you from your ancestors. She said, Ababiya, or the father, the nurturer of this land is Oromo. Oh God, put us on top. Let us prevail. Let us manage. Let us be free to do this. And this I referred to yesterday. Chickens make noises that start the process of waking to a new day. They know that something new is coming. The hens. And then they wake up the rooster, and the rooster announces the new day. I won't say that Hachalu is, playing that role, but I'm saying that in fact, Howie was talking about it early in the process, and he was bringing it to a bold announcement. This is my grandmother's land and my grandfather's land. I have rights here. I have history here. And then the warning, which is in many, many of these songs: don't cut us up. Don't violate the lands of our forebears. Don't poke around in our intimate space. Stop it. This is an intimate thing. Oromo is a great nation. Its homestead is expansive. You'll never be able to uproot us from our most sacred space, the Aradda, the intimate space where the real nurturing takes place for people and for the community. And a beautiful image. The bones of our ancestors rest in the land where the offspring of our grandfather's cattle are resting on the surface. This is an image of peace, an image of prosperity, and this is what she's longing for and saying that this is what we want. This is what we want. We want this peace to be returned. We want this freedom to develop from this kind of a basis. And then the issue of defending the land, not attacking someone, but defending the land, rising up and defending what's rightfully yours. But she's claiming they call out to each other, claiming Oromia, our inheritance, as their own. It's our Creator who brought us forth and took care of us to this day and blessed us to become numerous. The prosperity was in our hands, and we want that back, is the implication. So Oromo, wake up, rise up, the morning of freedom is coming. Hachalu sings at a different phase in the movement and on a different platform. He announces the coming of a new day. He sings in the time when the suffering and the bloodbath of the distant and immediate past was there. He sang before the prisoners were released in December 2017. Abi was in the audience, Lama was in the audience, Badula was in the audience. There were a lot of dignitaries. There were huge. You all, how many of you watched this? Okay, more. The very fact that Hachalu is chanting such garsa for such a huge audience in such a lofty hall reflects the spirit of freedom that's firing up those in the audience and those watching it from around the world. Indelible image. The stage isn't shown there. So among his messages are that this is a just fight. It's a justified fight. We have abandoned our forefathers' legacy. We've left it behind. We have to get back to it, is basically what he's saying. What did the Oromo do wrong? We did everything that was asked of us. We tried our utmost. So what remains to be done? We've bowed and submitted to the great and the small for the sake of coexistence. The prize milking cows they took from our livestock that we allowed them to borrow for milking and calving, they strapped and milked and ruthlessly milked them dry. Then none of the milk, then we saw none of the milk, and then they refused to give our cows to us, and they slaughtered them. They're coming after. You know, there's an assertiveness of violence that he's responding to. They hid their real intention, like live embers that hide under ash, lurking behind a deceptive surface. So he is making that. He comes to a very strong conclusion. But if you look at the performance of Agararsa, putting it in context, Hachalu didn't just walk out on the stage. He asked, "Are you there?" After he'd sung. "Is everybody there?" He did a roll call of every part of the region. And people began to get really fired up. The incitement to enthusiasm was there, and he was able to make this point. And he basically is saying that, I'll say that we'll have to cut through the actual wording. It's going to be posted on probably the beginning of next week onto the website of the oromoadvocacy.org. Both the texts and then the commentary will be there. To encourage everyone to realize that this kind of power that the Kero Karare are exhibiting, the kind of connection they have with what their forebears have asked for, and what they want also, is these are the children of the people we heard and saw yesterday, and that generation, that they want peace in the land that is their inheritance. They want opportunity, as Lemmy is saying, they want opportunity to be productive, to find their way to manage these things without interference. Without interference is the aspect of a freedom, the liberation. So Hachalu brings the message home, and he's not just telling a history lesson, he's making a connection with the day and the hour of their event, and he brings the rally to such a thunderous response because he's connecting history with the present. And he says, am I lying? Have I deceived anybody? Am I speaking the truth? And the response we've all seen was really tremendous. So this is a fair claim that he's really articulating that Oromos are not the aggressors. Oromos are willing to defend their space. This needs to be understood to people who would help them, be sympathetic with them, understand they are saving the earth. Their environmental message is very strong. The justice message is very strong. The restoration of loss is very strong. And this is where they will be satisfied with change. Yesterday we saw a farmer who said, what's changed for me is that I can air my grievance without going to prison, but my needs are not yet met. He really nailed it. And that is where we continue with getting the message across and pushing for the positive content that is there when people have come out. And this narrative, I don't want to spend the bulk of my time talking about what adversaries to this movement are saying, and how it's being demonized and how it's being labeled. Today, some really ugly posts came out equating the Kero to terrorists and Hutu power and whatever. The confusion is going to be there until Oromos and friends, allies, put the message out there and in advocacy, defend, and then work toward the same sorts of objectives. So if this becomes part of the talking points and part of the clarification, and more of these become available, then people who would like to step forward, who are confused currently by this narrative that's going on in Ethiopia about who can you trust, who who should we see as demonized, and who is going to bring peace, and who, what is the best way forward. This really needs to be part of of what people come to understand. So the demands are evident in these examples: justice, restoration of land and power, self-management. This morning we were very well educated by Solomon, who, as he was showing his slides, I thought, and I wasn't the only one, thought we should have the Gerarsa playing in the background, because that's exactly what they've been complaining, exactly what they've been raising. And then, thank you very much, he brought the music in because he connected, this is the violation, this is the problem, the solutions have to come that actually address the true grievances, not superficial changes that are not touching the right issues. Restoring power to people so that they have a say in how they're governed. That's the abadiyuma part. That's the self-management, the self-governance. So this message is very important to shifting the conversation. This can be summed up that for Oromo and for many Oromo neighbors of the Oromo who have very similar cultural, political orientation to land and to productivity, their southern neighbors, the matter of land is a matter of life, and it needs to be understood. It's not just soil, it's not just a commodity, it's not just something to put out on the market. And for the Oromo, the reference to ancestral life is this. It's about identity. It's about preserving a way of life. And yesterday when I was talking about what the Oromo have that are precious, that they bring to the table, one key part important to me, and I think will eventually be the basis on which a lot of alternative development plans can come, is this notion of what is it that needs to be protected, and what institutions need to be built up in order to make this Oromo notion of development viable. I've referred to it using the Fitna Finne yesterday, but it's the whole notion of management and respect for resources and creation. So I encourage you to go and read these full texts, to play them, to absorb them, to communicate them to others, to make them part of your understanding and of your messaging as you advocate for those who have made the sacrifices and who understand much more deeply what's at stake than they're given credit for. So thank you very much. I see my
All right, we're running low on time, so we can only take 2 short questions. I see one, Rami, and
right here up front.
Go ahead.
I'm loud enough. This question is for Felix. I enjoyed your presentation, and I was mortified to some of the things you said. The common issue that is very common amongst us, but hearing it from an outsider was really a wake-up call. My question to you is, like Ms. Bonnie said, a lot of the Oromos are not the aggressors. We tend to does the human rights community understand these issues that Bonnie explained thoroughly? And second, on social media, most of either the Ethiopians or the Amharas, they're just keyboard gangsters, meaning they talk, they don't act. And we have tons of them in our community as well who talk a whole lot negativity, but when in fact doing actions, when action needs to be taken, either advocacy or in other matters, they don't actually come out in large numbers. Does the advocacy know that? I know there's some fear, you said that, with the advocacy community.
This is the last question.
Hey guys, my name is Kari Bashir. I guess this question may be for Professor Rumi and brother from Human Rights Watch.
Felix.
Brother Felix, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It ties into just this sense of advocacy. And I do a lot of advocacy work. So I do a lot of work with, I'm the UNICEF community lead in Nashville. And a lot of advocacy takes consistency. And with this, you know, you do it, the more consistency, and I think you touched on that, Felix. And this is how we create momentum. And I feel like, you know, going back to our own community, I recently started an OYA in my area. And when I started that, you know, a lot of the individuals were like, you know, Sibirat Awina, Javatu will help you anywhere we can. But ourselves, you know, maybe the Eritrea massacre may happen and we so quick to post something about it, and, you know, a month later, 2 months later, it just dies out. So we like consistency. So I'm just trying to get maybe not maybe a question, but just an advice from you as far as I do a lot of advocacy work outside, but when I try to bring this into my own community, so a lot of things that you touched on, I already do that, but when I try to bring it into my own community, it doesn't feel like it's effective. So as an Oromo yourself, as an advocate yourself, Brother Felix and Brother Wendy, how do you guys lead that on?
Felix, I'll let you.
Okay, good questions. One of my frustrations, generally speaking, is that non-Oromo groups in Ethiopia know nothing about Oromo. It's incredible to me. Everyone here thinks they know what the Karo wants. Nobody knows what nobody outside of Oromo knows what the Karo wants. I would also say that a lot of people in Oromo don't know what Karo wants. And I say that partially because of the hundreds of interviews I did with victims of protesters. You ask them, what is it that your demands are? And beyond like the, you know, we want freedom, we want respect for human rights. When you really dig down, either they don't know or there's a whole myriad of answers, which is what you would expect, right, from an organic movement across a very wide region with lots of diversity. So I mean, I think, you know, some of the sort of really toxic perspectives towards the Karo that we've seen recently are in part because there have been some aggressions from Karo, let's be clear about that, but also because people don't know what the demands are. And I'm amazed within all these little bubbles, the Oromo bubble doesn't know much about the Amhara bubble, really. And the Amhara bubble doesn't know much about the Oromo bubble. And when I'm in those bubbles, like I'm in one of those bubbles now, no one really asks me many questions. Most of the questions I get actually are from the Amhara bubble because many people associate me with the Oromo. And they're like, so what do those Oromo people really want? They all want to separate? Like they have no understanding. You know, they've never had a real conversation with you, as I'm sure many of you know. And one of the things that excites me about the youth is I think that's breaking down a little bit back home. But I also would say, and this ties into I think both questions a little bit, is that in terms of being able to articulate the demands of the Karo, or of the youth, or of different groups, I don't think Oromo do a good job of that. I don't think Oromo are articulating what they want. And I think when they do articulate it, it comes from a place of, you know, we've been suppressed for so long that now we want to take back what is rightfully ours. That makes sense. I completely understand that. But I think that's framed in a way that sort of threatens the dominant group. Maybe that's okay, maybe it's not, but in terms of, it brings out a sort of guttural reaction from many groups to just oppose. And when I do interviews with different communities, like the differences in terms of people, the differences aren't that great. You know, as groups, there's lots of differences, obviously, but as individuals, the differences aren't that great. So, you know, since things have changed, since Abiy's come to power, there's a lot of youth groups that are springing up across Ethiopia. There's some amazing youth groups in the Somali region doing some amazing work about transitional justice, about truth and reconciliation, about accountability. They're the ones that are pushing their politicians to actually take the right steps. In Amhara region, there are youth groups that are springing up, doing similar things, trying to find ways to get justice for and psychosocial services for torture victims. Western donors are very eager to fund these things, so there's resources available for it. Oromo, I haven't heard of anything like that. And apologies if it is happening, maybe I haven't heard, but no one's sort of come forward to sort of raise these things. I don't know why that is. I mean, you understand your community better than I do. I don't know, but it's definitely a pattern that I see too. I know I'm going for too long here, but just one other thing on the youth that sort of Lemmy triggered in my mind and ties into both your questions. When I come to Oromo gatherings, and it's like this in the other communities too, but particularly in Oromo, we have panels of middle-aged men, largely talking about the past. I hate to say that, but it's true. And what often happens when I go to these gatherings is that the youth and women in particular will get in touch with me afterwards on, on Twitter or email or phone or just in the hallway and have really good ideas that they're happy to share one-on-one, but they're not willing to share in this sort of space that's not particularly friendly. So I think it's great that Kulani is here as the first female president of OSA, but I hope in future OSAs we actually have panels, excuse me, with much more youth representation. I think Lemmy's comment about pulling up a folding chair if there's no room at the table. I mean, forget the damn table. Build your own table. I mean, the youth have such great ideas, especially in the Oromo community. Women have such great ideas. I think you just need to kind of form your own organizations, do advocacy yourselves, and forget about sort of the entrenched systems that created the mess in the first place.
Lex, I said bring your own folding chair because I was thinking of the cultural appropriations here. We're not destructive. To answer your question about advocacy, sometimes you're going to be the only one that's going to be doing the work. So you just got to know that what you are trying to accomplish is going to help many people. And so you got to persist and keep on going on. And eventually, somebody somewhere will pick up and be able to disperse your message. But you can't be discouraged because people who overpromised or who are spread thin and lack follow-through are saying, hey, this is a great idea, I'm going to support you. Those are just, we're full of opinions, but not enough ideas. So follow-through is a big thing. If you follow through, then you're leading by example. And eventually, if it's not your own people who come to your rescue, to look like this. Yeah, I sat in many meetings from I think every level of government and just trying to get across. The whole answer I get, question, but you're just only one guy. How come we haven't heard of? So, yeah, there's 40 million others like me, but they're only seeing me. So sometimes that's just enough because it could trigger something that those people that can connect with. You just have to be able to be prepared and do the work. You got to lay the path, and then if that path is good, there will be some fruition to the work. But you can't be discouraged. Rami, I'm going to try to give you a little more unsolicited answer to your question. I think we have to be careful in how we characterize and how strong our statements are sometimes, especially because you don't know who's watching and who's really an ally and who's really trying to get an understanding versus who's trying to tolerate you. So, if somebody hears you saying things like, oh, they're just keyboard gangsters, what if somebody else was mischaracterizing you in a different audience and saying you're just a keyboard gangster? So you got to be able to think about this equation from both sides. Sort of one way that I remind myself is when I go to stores, I'm thinking about how good of a customer am I? I got to keep thinking about it every place that I go. Am I a good customer? And in that same way, when you're in advocacy, when you're in trying to bring a lasting change that's positive, you also got to think about it. How am I seeing other groups? What am I understanding versus what assumptions that I'm making? So don't be so quick to jump to assume that this spread of negativity is coming from outside groups. It could be coming from your, within your own circles, because temptation is always within. So everybody says, oh, we're quick to point the finger, but, there's three pointing back at you. So know that and understand that in order to build a bridge and a connection, you got to be willing to work with people. And sometimes that means you don't have to like them as long as you can work with them.
I deeply want to thank the panelists on this panel. It was really a fascinating conversation. Your presentations were very complicated. I'm not sure if people were really able to read everything on the slides, but advocacy is, I think, a very complicated effort. And I think there are a lot of lessons to be learned from the presentations made today. And I really hope that we continue this conversation through supporting Oromo Advocacy Alliance and Human Rights Watch, the advocacy work that these organizations do. I encourage you, if you are interested in supporting these efforts, to get in touch with these panelists, and so that we can continue this conversation and these efforts. And so I want to thank you guys again. Baya Galatoma. And please let's... I'm going to have closing remarks, very brief closing remarks, because I know there is another program waiting. So, yesterday morning, I opened this conference with a statement about how this OSA Mid-Year Conference had the primary objective of exploring current obstacles to social justice and democracy in Oromia and Ethiopia, particularly during this transition period. We have explored who the Qeerroo Qarree are, how they evolved over several years of mobilizing and organizing, and how their needs and demands for democracy and self-governance fail to be addressed during this current era of transition. We explored the role of Oromo women and alternative mechanisms through which Oromo women are empowering themselves to empower their communities. We had the honor of listening to Adde Warqe, her special presentation on how the Oromo struggle has evolved historically and the role of the late Baro Tumsa. Her presentation was a historically rich presentation that I urge must be captured moving forward by our scholars and scholarship. We also explored ideological battles being waged concerning the structure and organizing principle of the state of Ethiopia, the concept of Meddemir in relation to Oromo nationalism, and whether we are only witnessing right now a symbolic change in governance versus a substantive change. Today, we explored how international instruments and institutions could be empowering tools but are underutilized in the case of the Oromo, how land-grabbing policies are a continuing practice under this current administration, the Abiy administration, and how land grabbing has devastated Oromo farmers and robbed them of their dignity and way of life. This is one of the most critical social justice challenges of this transition era. And as I noted previously, we mentioned during almost every panel how critical Oromo unity and our collective power could be in addressing the range of issues we have raised at this conference, and how the Oromo society has fallen short in creating a national organizing capacity, and also how the Global Gumi Oromo is one solution to addressing this shortcoming. We also explored the role of our religious institutions and strategic advocacy efforts that have been and should be in moving forward in promoting social justice and democracy in Oromia and Ethiopia. But stepping back, I want to share with you my underlying purpose when I prepared the program for this mid-year conference. That purpose was to open dialogue and conversations and to explore more deeply the most critical issues being faced by Oromo society regarding land rights and human rights, social justice, and democratization, all as a precursor to the annual OSA conference, which we are working to bringing to Finfinne this summer. In these past 2 days, we have laid the groundwork for several social, economic, legal, and political crises taking place in Oromo society that needs to be addressed by our scholars, experts, researchers, as well as our social and community organizations, our religious institutions, and other organizations in general, and this institution in particular. We have demonstrated that these crises are either being neglected or actually driven by the current system and its policies and institutions. I will conclude by saying that the upcoming OSA annual conference is tasked with taking the conversations we have had these past 2 days and producing solutions-based, policy-driven research and scholarship. And it will be our first opportunity to welcome and incorporate our local scholars and students in Oromia in pushing forward the mission of this association. And I strongly encourage everyone here to attend. And in closing, I want to express my heartfelt thanks to all of the volunteers who have worked tirelessly throughout this conference, to our wonderful conference presenters, our keynote speaker Adewarke, our guest speaker Yadesa Bojia, as well as Binyam Rabba for exhibiting his art, as well as Yadesa in the art exhibit. And I want to finally thank you, the OSA conference participants and members, and our donors and supporters. And my last thing I want to say is I would like everyone to stand up for a moment, because I want to take a moment to recognize the sacrifices of Qeerroo and Qarree in leading us to this moment in Oromo history, as well as several generations of Oromo heroes and heroines who have paid the ultimate sacrifice with their lives, their well-being, their safety, and their family safety. And so I just want us to take a moment in silence, and if you pray, you can pray as well. And let's just take a moment. Okay, Baya Galatoma, and once again, I thank you all for participating in this conference, and we are very privileged to have Sena Solomon here with us today. I will pass on the stage to the organizers of the next program. Galatoma.
Okay, whatever. How long is this going to be?
Long.
1:35?
1 hour and 30 minutes.
Are we going to be here?
I will. If I have to be here, I will be here. I will be here to watch. Yeah, don't worry. Do you have any other laptop, by the way? Because any laptop works.
Oh, may I bring my laptop?
Yeah, bring your laptop.
Can we let them out and they come in?
Yeah, you got about that
But is it because some
Because we don't know what's at the theater who doesn't.
Oh.
So some people are already in, some people are outside, so it's
I don't know how you're going to do that.
And who is responsible for the event?
Who's the program organizer? Najat is organizing, right? Najat?
Yeah, we all together. Volunteering about it to child.
I think he's going to bring his laptop, and that would be better.
I prefer that because I don't want to. I would watch it, but
I think it's actually longer than an hour and a half. Amani told me it's 2 hours.
Okay, ladies.
How long is
Great job, great job.
How long is it?
I think for sure 2 hours.
Are you staying for the movie? Are you staying for the movie?
Oh, they are. I wanted to get you guys were sitting with them.
Hello? Hello? Do you want to do it? Okay. If everyone, if you have a ticket, stay. If you don't have a ticket, can you please step outside and purchase a ticket? Galatona.
So they can use this computer?
No. We're going to use another computer. His computer. You guys need some other place where you can have. We have recommendations. All of us. Maybe we do it here. I have to still, I need to talk to you. Or I have to, just like something casual where all of us talk. Not like too intense.
No, I don't see it in this set.
The lowering. Nothing too formal. The lowering.
Flip it.
I'll give you other recommendations. Yeah, good check. And then, thank you. I know. Microphone? Maybe. Hold this and hold it to close to your mouth.
Yeroo tokkicha maaloo tasgabbaa warri tikeetii hin qabne yoo nu baatanii tikeeta bitattanii ol deebitan warri qabdan garuu asuma taa bakka jirtanitti tikeenni immoo lakkaawama waan ta'eef ol qabaa agarsiisa maaloo adaraa.
hojjetaa jiru garuu namoota xixinnoo ishee bisa namoota tureetu bakkee sargaanaa jiru namni voolentariidha.
We have to have the Wi-Fi?
No.
Guest.
Just have the Wi-Fi not for Pakistan. They just have to be able to play the movie.
Ascolto qua, ascolto.
Yeah,
un po'.
It's already here.
Sena mu jalan devi nanti bergarda.
Walaa dhageenyu. Taa na dhageessu dhagahama. Hello.
Dhagahama. Njaa sagalee qaba. Dhagahama.
Na dhageessu. Taa maaloo please. Warri tikeetii hin qabne gadi bahaa tikeetii bitadhaa deebi'aa. Warri qabdan immoo tikeetii keessan harkatti qabadhaa taa'aa nu agarsiisa. Walaa dhageenyu please taa'aa warri dhaabbattan yookaan ba'aa yookaan taa'aa.
Naamsina.
Mario. Ini tiada sesuatu.